open to having this discussion. Thank
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's an important discussion
you.
because, I've heard about, some of the things that you deal with, some of the health and some of the concerns that you address in your practice and in your work. And as I was doing research for the program and looking over some of the details, I was astounded with how some of these conditions are affecting women, and particularly African American women. For example, it's an estimated that nearly 7 out of 10, or 70% of Caucasian women, and 8 out of 10 African American women will develop fibroids. And by the time that they're 50 years of age in the United States.
Yeah.
It was amazing to me to see that this is a real occurrence. And as I was looking over information and trying to see and analyze what discussions have been had over this, I really haven't seen too many. And I was astounded by that. I said, wow, what is going on? This needs to be discussed. This needs to be talked about, and it needs to be delved into. So I want to say thank you at the onset for stepping up and providing not only critical information, but doing the kinds of practices and the kinds of techniques and exercises to change and transform this terrible situation. So just kind of give us, I guess, your background and what got you involved in being the fibroid queen.
Yes, lovely, lovely. So, pretty much, I am the founder of Fibroid Queen. My name is Phyllis, and I've been a registered nurse for about 12 years. And I'm also a fitness and yoga coach. So I've been able to turn the pain and suffering into power,
Wow.
right? And I also believe that once you heal the mind, you heal everything. So my journey started at the age of 7. I was 7 years old. As a curious child, watching my mom go through the pain and suffering with uterine fibroids herself, and leaving that rather traumatic experience. And trauma for most is just the ways maybe a situation or experience happen and it changes the way you view life. And that's what I view that as. So that experience left me with lots of questions, confusion, and awareness that my mom did not really know what was going on with her body. She told me that the doctor told her to have a partial hysterectomy. So pretty much told her to move some of her female organs out, right? And she did that, and coming home from the hospital, looking at her energy, her face, everything about her, that stuck with me. And fast forward about 15 years, I was in nursing school, my first year, and I was sitting on the table getting ready to get a womb wellness checkup or pap smear, all that stuff. And that memory of my mom just all of a sudden came to me. Not only,
Wow.
I know, right? It was weird.
Wow.
And just not only that, but also first year of nursing school, I may have learned a couple things that I knew to ask for an ultrasound. Why? Right? Well, what comes with uterine fibroids, right? Most women don't have any symptoms at all. Some women don't even know they have uterine fibroid lesions on their uterus. But there are other women like myself who have yet annoying to debilitating symptoms that affect quality of life. Like what? Heavy cycles, bloating, pain, fatigue, urinary frequency, the list goes on. So I was experiencing that. I told the doctor, and I said, you know what? I want to get an ultrasound and make sure I don't have uterine fibroids. And after persisting, and I say persisting, so I had to really keep asking and saying that my mom had fibroids. I want to make sure I don't have it. And she finally gave in. And the results came back where I had a quarter-size fibroid on my uterus. So I just think about, what if I didn't persist? What if I didn't know what was going on, right? What would have happened, right? So after that, the results were given to me. The doctor said just to monitor it. And now I'm blown away. But back then I'm like, okay, I'll listen to the doctor, right? The doctor knows better. And that's what I did. I monitored it. And I pretty much put it on a back burner, right? And the fibroids progressed in size. My symptoms never really went away. They just gradually got worse until about, I just came out of a relationship, and it was the most stressful part of my life other than nursing school. Like, I was a personal trainer, I was bodybuilding, I was working as a nurse, 2 jobs, night shift. I was being superwoman, thinking I was doing something, right? But just killing myself inside. And I ended up just really breaking down. And I also noticed that I started to look pregnant, right?
What?
Yeah. I noticed that my belly was starting to protrude out. I noticed that the cycles became heavier and heavier, more pain. And I finally went back to check on the fibroids that I kind of disregarded 9 years ago. And those fibroids progressed from a quarter to a mango.
A mango.
Yeah.
And this is after you listening to the doctor say, monitor,
Yeah.
watch, just, be aware of what's going on. Don't
Yeah.
do anything intrusive, but just be paying attention to what the situation is. And it went from a quarter to a mango.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Golly.
So, Sad, you're hinting towards what I want to emphasize to women listening, that Fibroid Queen is a reminder. It's a wake-up call. It's a message to me, letting me know, Phyllis, slow down. Phyllis, pay attention to me. Phyllis, do more self-care. So that's what Fibroid Queen is a reminder that I can no longer waive my self-care and wound wellness needs for anyone or anything, because if I'm not at my best, I'm not going to be my best for other people. So that's what Fibroid Queen is. And that reflects into what I feel fibroids are. The thing about our conversation here said, women can go on Google and look up the medical standard definition, but here you're going to get what's not on Google. Okay. You're going to get experience. You're going to get background information. And one of the things that I want to say when it comes to fibroids, at least what I call them, is that they're a challenge that promote abnormal growths on the uterus, reflective of the war between the environment and our body, caused by the hormonal chaos and the immune system. So that is what my definition of fibroids are. So if you think about that, and you think about, the society we live in, this technology escape-based society we live in, we look at the medical advances over the last 30 years. We look at the chronic diseases. We look at the rate of fibroids, and just all of that, right? And those numbers keep rising. You would think the day and age we live now, people are happier, and we're seeing more success rates with the chronic disease, but the numbers are progressively growing. You know, I think I read something, it was 6 million women that will be diagnosed with fibroids, and now I think it's 7 million, and younger women. So, what is the missing piece to this puzzle here? What are we not addressing? Right? We're not addressing the whole body, right? We're not addressing the systems that work together, knowing that fibroids are just a representation of a bigger problem. And yet, the standard way of approaching them is just removing them, right? And removing, or if you're given the option, the very first option, which is absurd, is to have a hysterectomy and remove your whole female organ. And the thing is, we're born with it for a reason. And why is the progression? Why does this need to happen? Why are we not I don't want to stop there because I've said a lot, and I want you to kind of.
You say, hey, it's time for you to ask me a question.
I will not stop too.
I was just sitting listening because, this is something that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times men, we don't deal with, we don't understand, we don't try to understand. And I think it's extremely important for brothers, especially, to take the time to say it's okay to learn about this. First of all, I think it'll make women feel more comfortable, right? And then, second of all, it'll make us more aware of really how we need to be there for you,
right,
and understand the dynamics in which you're going through. Because when I heard about it, I was just like, oh, okay, well, hey, it only affects you when you're having a child. That's how ignorant I was. I thought you only use your uterus when you're having a child, But I realized, I'm like, wow, this is very, very intrusive. The pain, and especially when you're on your cycle and things of that nature, but also the emotional toll that it takes,
right,
and that it also requires a woman to have to go through and endure. And I definitely wanted to have a conversation about that as well. I love how you talked about how the diagnosis and also the measures at which you were supposed to alleviate the problem were not conducive and constructive to what you were really facing,
right,
and what you were really going through. And then you had to do your own investigation, your own inquiry, your own analysis to be able to understand how to deal with this. I definitely like for you to talk about that, how you realized that you had to take ownership of your own health,
yeah,
and your own wherewithal and well-being.
yeah. And that's a good segue to where I left off. So when I was told the fibroids progressed to 9 centimeters, well, one of the fibroids,
Wow, that's wow. That's wow.
from 4 to 9 centimeters. Um, the doctor immediately went into treatment options. I mean, I literally did not get time to digest what was happening, what was going on with my body, where that was another traumatic situation where he immediately went into, this is what you can do, birth control, this, and that. And then I asked the question, there is a reoccurrence rate with uterine fibroids, right? And he said, yeah, but I can guarantee you 5 years, they won't come back. And immediately when he said that, something hit me, was like, how can you, as a doctor, guarantee what is going to happen with my body? And I lost the credibility that I had for the doctor to say something like that, was really it just really hit me hard, where I end up just leaving that doctor's office. And I left in tears. I left feeling powerless, and feeling like my body failed me, as I was a competitor. I was eating healthy, what I called healthy. I was doing the things that I thought I needed to do, but I was not including my whole self. And when I got home that day, it was the lowest point of my life. I started to go down the path of, near damn depression, thinking that there's nothing I can do. And what else do I have to live for at that point?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It got that serious, huh? Where
Yeah.
you began to contemplate your own existence and your own life.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. The thing that I'm thinking about it as you're sharing, and I really appreciate your candor and your honesty and your vulnerability. It's amazing. Um, I think about, are we properly equipped to deal with our body failing, right? And is the sick care system, because I don't call it healthcare system, it's the sick care. They want you to be sick so they can make money off of you, right? But also in that, I wonder, as you were leaving that doctor's office and you were thinking about all of those things that we think about when we're faced with something that's very challenging. And it was interesting how you talked about my body failing. It's almost like on some levels we're conditioned to think that our body is failing us, when in actuality it might be, we are not properly giving our body the things it needs,
Right.
right? And we're in environments that are debilitating our body on purpose,
Yeah.
right? So we're in sick environments that are toxic, around sick and toxic people, and we wonder why our body is sick and toxic. And we blame our body, not realizing, no, it's this sick society. It's these sick people that we're surrounded by that are influencing and affecting us many times, and not in every case, but in enough cases to where this has some plausibility. And I think that it's important that you share this with us, how you didn't stay in that defeated state, how you said, I'm going to take responsibility and accountability for my own health, my own well-being, and I'm going to do some things to change. So what were those things, and kind of take us through that process?
Yeah. So one of the things that you mentioned that's so profound said is just realizing that, you know what, there's another side and I don't have to continue to live like this. So
Mm,
what did I have to start doing? I really had to wake up one day and say to myself, you know what, there's something I can do.
mm.
And I heard the name Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, this
Dispenza. Yeah. I heard his name somewhere, and I just, went on YouTube after, laying in bed for days and looked him up. And I was like, let me listen to this guy that I heard from someone. And I started really digesting and actually um, applying what his teachings were, his philosophy. And then I also checked out Queen Afua and Jewel Poolcram, and then made a regimen of listening to these speakers on a daily basis. Oh, I tell you, after about 30 days, um, I noticed an immediate transformation.
mm,
I started to get ready for the day. I started to really have an intention set for myself. I started to change the way I eat. So instead of eating foods that are mostly in a box or microwavable, I started focusing on more fruits and vegetables.
mm,
Started looking at more of the alkaline way of living. I started to really look at how I was working out before, how I had that meathead mentality about going hard in the gym, lifting heavy weights, and realizing the middle of my body, the most vulnerable area of my body where the womb lies and creation happens, was often disregarded.
mm, mm,
And I started to think about a way to work out where it was integrative, but mind body, focusing on breath work and improving the pelvic floor. And I was able to birth womb wellness workouts. So I created these workouts, again, womb wellness workouts, to as another modality to really help womb wellness. And
mm.
it's workouts that men and women can do, as we do need to focus on the middle of the body to help out the rest of the body. So then I have herbs. I knew a lot about herbs, but I finally partnered with a distributor and started incorporating herbs into my regimen. So we got herbs, we got the mindset coaching, we got the nutrition,
Mm,
and then intentional exercise. And I tell you, said, after 3 months of following this regimen I created for myself, heavy cycles went away. A 4 centimeter fibroid dissolved, energy went up, pain eliminated, bloating eliminated, and I just started to feel so much better.
mm,
And after that experience, I realized how much power I do have.
mm,
I started to, um, birth this program as a program that I can use and to support other women, as I'm in a unique situation as um, being a coach, also a patient, a
mm,
medical professional, being able to see how these patients are treated, the racial health disparities. One that thought she did everything right,
mm,
worked out, competed, and still ended up with uterine fibroids. So using my story to really help and empower and coach women on how to eat, move, and think,
mm,
prevent and or manage uterine fibroids with womb wellness programs is what I do.
mm. One listener has a question. Says, "How could fibroids be removed without surgery? Are there any herbal cures to heal you?" I know you mentioned herbs, and I love how you say it. You're gonna make me start saying it like that. But are there any out there that can help and aid and abet in the process of healing from your expert opinion?
Yeah, and I want to use those words. Think they're very subjective: cure, heal,
Hmm.
um, and everyone has may have a little bit of a definition of what those mean. But for me, healing is being able to reach a optimal level where my body's functioning in harmony most of the time. Does that mean that fibroids are will not be there? Not necessarily. Like I said, you know, up to 80% of women will get fibroids. But the thing is, only 20% of them actually have symptoms. So a lot of women are walking around here with maybe tiny fibroid lesions on their uterus, but it has not been triggered yet. Okay.
Mm,
So
mm,
one thing to think about is, yeah, there is a genetic link, yada, yada. Oh, my mom had it, so I got it, but my sister doesn't have it. But
mm.
the genes load the gun, the environment and your thoughts pull the trigger.
Wow.
So, with that being said, when it comes to herbs, they help to some degree. It does not work optimally if you're not including your nutrition, you're not having the right thoughts. I mean, if you're anxiety, depression, if you're in that state of mind, no, it's not going to be as effective as if you were managing your stress, intentional exercise, all of that. So, fibroids is like you need to address it like you're putting a puzzle together.
Mm,
There's so many different parts, and it's unique to how the person puts the puzzle together. But once it's done, it's done. Same thing of how to address it and manage it. It has to be a combination of things that you have to do as far as lifestyle to really get optimal results. And that's why my program can benefit a lot of women as I help you figure all that out because it can be very overwhelming. So, to answer your question, it's not just the herbs. Herbs help, but it does include other modalities to help get greater effects.
mm. That's powerful. I'm glad you mentioned the other modalities because I know that this is something that's very serious because you mentioned these hysterectomies. And I was doing some research on it. Like, not only are the ovaries taken, but many of the essential female reproductive entities and organs are removed.
Yeah.
And that has not only an effect from a biological standpoint in terms of reproduction and reprocreating and things of that nature, but also from an emotional standpoint. You know, being a woman, I would imagine, I've never been a woman. You know, I love women, but I don't even want to be one. But I would imagine that being one, you know, has a great effect or is greatly affected and influenced by, you know, your ability to recreate and your womb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would imagine the psychological dynamics and damage potentially that's done by having this ailment and then not getting good information from so-called healthcare professionals. Because many times they tell you just to monitor it or just take this and you'll be all right. You know, it's going to be with you forever, but it is what it is. You'll get better. Hopefully, you'll feel better. You'll be able to live with the pain. And I think the way that you have us thinking tonight is no, we need to become our own physicians. We need to become our own doctor and begin to look at nature first and foremost to find what's necessary to heal. And again, I'm glad you mentioned that about the subjectivity of those words. We're not advocating anybody to do anything. Check with your healthcare professional and things of that nature before you make a decision. But weigh that decision based on your own understanding and based on, you know, being able to research and find other opinions that might offer other options and solutions. Because I think, and having talked to many women who've had that hysterectomy and the changes that happen courtesy of it, I think that women need to be well prepared and well aware of that. And also men too, because it's going to affect the man in that woman's life as well. You know what I'm saying, on some levels. So I think that that's important. The question I want to ask you is that this what's this whole wellness, this workshop, this work that you got people doing? What
Yeah.
is that about? What's up with that? That's what I want to know.
Yes, I love it. So, what I do in my program is really help women connect the dots and guide them.
So,
I really feel that it's so important because it allows women to really figure out the root of why they're in this situation to begin with, and also helps them become more aware of their wants in life and if they're living to their maximum or could they be living to their maximum potential in some other type of way.
mm,
So that entails, you know, a woman scheduling a consultation, we having a talk, kind of getting an idea of what their symptoms are, what their goals are, and creating a regimen that is catered to them when it comes to even eating. And most women think, you know what, do I have to become a vegan, a keto, on a keto diet? No, you have to realize that foods that are hormone inducing, like um, meat, or foods that have high sugar intake in it, and also foods with um, that are more in a processed type of manner. They all have inflammation producing capabilities. So
mm,
minimize that, right? What is
right.
we can still have fun with your diet, but also, you know, minimize those type of chronic inflammation promoting elements where your body can start become in harmony. And the root of really taming inflammation is through the diet and exercise.
Mm,
So exercise, these womb wellness workouts, we get on live together. So I have a group of women working out together,
right.
and instructing them of how to, you know, move their bodies, how to, you know, gain communication of their vagina, how to get more into the feel of their pelvic floor, the correct way of doing exercises that work different parts of the body. And then mindset coaching. So we jump on a call once a month and we kind of make goals together and making sure they're mentally shifting to what they want as far as their goals. So this is a personalized, unique approach where women feel more empowered to take action. They feel more as this is a team effort, and they're more willing and motivated to stick with this type of lifestyle. So that's pretty much what I carry women through. My goal is to really, do this globally. I'm going to be co-hosting a retreat in January in Mexico.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you. And really taking it to the next level where I can be helping women and the rest of the wound wellness community, paying it forward to women globally, where we can help mentor young women as well. And we can really change the narrative of the fibroid diagnosis.
Absolutely. There was something you said that really percolated my interest. You talked about getting in tune with the womb
Yeah.
and learning the vagina. Well,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Learning and understanding how the vagina works, and even that was something. If I'm not mistaken, you were talking about. Understanding its essence and its voice, so to speak. Like, what does that mean? That got me excited.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You're
what
getting
does
me
that? What
excited.
does that entail?
Okay, you're getting me excited. But yeah, the thing is, I tell you, said like, um, being on this journey, it's been so fulfilling, not only emotionally and physically, but sexually. I've never been so comfortable with being sexual. I thought it was awkward or uncomfortable, but now I'm knowing more about my body, feeling more confident, and being able to talk to her. And I say her as the vagina, the womb area, as that is a whole different being with a whole different system. And, for the most part, this system not being in tune with nature and being able to get a better relationship with it where you are knowing when your cycle is coming, you're able to track it, you're knowing that once you are having maybe some pain, you know what that may be because you had some dairy. You're starting to acknowledge and respond to what the body's communicating with you, and you're not missing these signs where it needs to be ease. So being able to have a better relationship with her, our womb, has been so gratifying where, I mean, sexual experiences, intimacy has been like a major difference positively, at least in my life. And I've also noticed that, I'm starting to attract like-minded men more as I'm more comfortable with my true self. And this area right here, it can magnify a lot of things, whether it be better connections with yourself, your significant other, but your creativity. Um, I mean, like I think about Fibroid Queen as something silly, like why would you name, someone actually asked me that, why would you name your business that? And me thinking of it not being something to now thinking of how people are going to want to know what Fibroid Queen is, has been something that had to be birthed through my relationship now with my womb. So I'm able to new ideas with just my business and just different things that I want to do. And I'm just bringing this up to let you women know that, there's a lot here. There's a lot of good things here, but this society, this environment really keeps us from getting to that level, we have to look outside of ourselves
Mm.
to join a community, a like-minded community, get a coach, someone that understands where we can cultivate, promote this type of energy. So that way, um, you know, you're just have just a better relationship with your body from, the womb to your your nervous system to your endocrine system and all of that good stuff. So
Right, right. I love how you talked and went there because I think it's so important to discuss this in terms of getting in touch with yourself, becoming aware of who you truly are, and then using that as the guide rather than listening to what society tells you you should be and listening to the so-called prognosticators and experts tell you how you should feel, how you should live, what you should be doing, what your body should be experiencing. It's beautiful that you have taken the onus and ownership of your own body, and you are now tapping into what your womb is telling you, how your essence and your nature is telling you to live, and to live effectively with that code and with that message and with that voice that's within. I think it's beautiful. I'd like to because the time moves so fast, and we got Mr. WOODFOX coming. And I definitely want to have you back on to continue this conversation. But how can people reach out to you and leave women, leave people with something that they can think about? So when they look up Fibroid Queen, they're like, yes, that's it. That's the sister I saw with the beautiful smile that was talking about listening to her womb and getting in touch with herself. So give us something that will, definitely inspire us to reach out to you and learn more about the great work that you're doing. And then also let people know that you won't bite and you won't judge them
yeah,
and that they can work with you to work on themselves to be better than they've ever been.
yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing said. And you know what? One thing is that my goal is to empower you, right? So whatever decision you choose to make, whether it may be your body is at a point where it may be unsafe and you may need to get a myomectomy, you have to get surgery. And we want to support you on that. We just want to make sure you're making an informed decision. You're not alone, and there is another way, right? There is a quality of life beyond the pain and suffering with fibroids. I can attest to it. My clients can attest to it. This does not have to be passed on to your daughters.
Mm.
You can do something about that. You can change your genetic makeup, right? You know, it's passed down genetically, but that's just a 10 to 20%. Genes do not make up the picture. You do, your environment does, and your mindset does. If you are ready to commit, you're ready to take the time to invest in yourself, and you're ready to start with action and support, feel free to schedule a consultation with me. The link is in the chat here, as well as go to www.fibroidqueen.com for more information and resources. And you're just like, you know what? I just want to start with a community for now. Womb Wellness Community is for you. Let's be empowered. Let's support one another. And this does not have to keep happening. And you can live the life that you are destined to live beyond fibroids.
Wow.
And I want to leave you with this again. Once you heal your mind, you heal everything. Let's go.
Wow. Oh, sister, you're a phenomenal phenomenality of magnificent magnificence.
Thank
And
you.
I really appreciate your energy and thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's meaningful, it's making a difference, and it's significant and astounding. So I just think that you are a plum pleasing pleasure, and you have definitely done a fabulous job of explaining and expounding upon these things. And you gotta come back, okay? Absolutely, absolutely, my sister. It's much love to you, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, Seth.
Peace,
Bye,
peace,
everyone.
peace, 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 peace. That's the one and only dear sister. Hey, how you doing?
How you
Mr.
doing, my
WOODFOX, how
brother?
you doing, man?
All
I
right.
got to give you a double salute, man. I got to give you a double salute, man. Hey, man, you're looking good. The fro is
Thank
looking
you.
great,
You know.
man. I'm telling you, you're a smooth brother. And you know, when I told people that you were coming on, they first of all they said he's still doing his thing. I said, yeah, he ain't stopped. And I said he's looking better than ever. What is your secret of being able and capable to overcome challenges and obstacles that most folk will say, hell no. But you say, no, we got to keep going forward and keep moving forward to do something that makes people say, yes, there is power, there is truth, there is love, there is a principle that is greater and stronger than any obstacle it can face. So I just want to say thank you at the onset and also ask you that question. How in the world have you maintained your cool, your essence, your blackness, and your identity in spite of all of the difficulties you face?
Well, you know, with me, my greatest pride is my African heritage, and my greatest pain is being African American. Uh, a very long time ago, I made a commitment to be, revolutionary social activist. And the one thing that my mom taught me at a very early age, although I rejected it, like most teens, was to keep your word. As a matter of fact, she used to say, if you ain't got a word, you ain't shit. That was her way of, of saying, keep your word. So I view, what I do as my word. If I commit to something or to an individual, then come hell or high water, as they say, I'm going to keep my word. I rather lose my life than break my word.
Wow.
And so that is a principle that my mom taught me. Not so much sitting down, but through examples, through watching her. I mean, this country, this society, threw everything possible at her to try to destroy her, and they never became close. They never came close to doing that. And so there are more than I can count times when I had to, go back to that. Remember my mom. Remember never seeing her giving up, never seeing her defeated look in her face, never seeing her, give in to injustice or oppression or whatever. And so I live by that principle now. My word is my bond. My bond is my soul.
That's powerful that you mentioned that, dear brother, because as I was reading up on you, and your story is amazing. Not only the time that you spent incarcerated for being wrongly convicted of a crime you did not commit, but being unable to go to your mother's funeral. I just think about that. I'm like, wow, man, someone who you just described was so pivotal and so important in your experience, and yet you could not send them off. And I know how important funerals are to.
Black folk. That's very important. Saying that final goodbye.
Right.
And the same thing happened. Me and my sister was extremely close. And when she passed away, we thought we had resolved the issue. By that time we had lawyers and stuff, and they had made arrangement, even had a court order for me to come back, and the sheriff department in New Orleans was going to pick me up and house me, and I would attend my sister's funeral. Excuse me, but when they came to pick me up, Burl Kane, who's the infamous warden who runs the Mississippi correctional program now, said no. No. But they, you know, this man is too dangerous. I'm not releasing custody of him. And, you know, and they said, well, we got a court order. He said, well, I'll see you in court then, but I'm not releasing.
What?
Yeah, I mean, that's how arrogant he was, and how evil he was, you know. And this was supposed to be a man of God, you know. He built this reputation as changing Angola through spiritual enlightenment and religious practice and stuff, you know. But it was all mostly a front, you know. I mean, the only person Burke King cared about was himself, you know.
Wow.
And what he could achieve and how he could manipulate the situation and exploit the slave labor in Angola, you know, for his own purpose, you know.
Wow. And I appreciate your candor and your honesty. There's a poem called Echoes that you write. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read a little bit of it. You say, echoes of wisdom I hear often, a mother's strength softly in my ears, echoes of a womanhood shining so bright, echoes of a mother within darkest night, echoes of wisdom on my mother's lips, too young to understand. It was in a gentle kiss, echoes of love and echoes of fear, arrogance of manhood wouldn't let me hear, echoes of heartache I still hold close as I mourn the loss of my one true hero, echoes from a mother's womb, heartbeats held so dear, life begins with my first tears, echoes of footsteps taken in the past, echoes of manhood standing in a looking glass, echoes of a motherhood gentle and near, echoes of a lost mother I will always hear. Now, this poem was written in 1995, 26 years later. How do you feel about that poem? You know, having heard those words that I just read, you know, what resonates with you? What takes you back to that moment? And then also, what have you learned from those moments?
You know, you know, you when you was reading it, you know, it's really, you know, the one thing I don't want to do is start crying, you know, in the interview. But you know, my mom was so important to who I am today. And you know, whenever and I do read a poem at times. As a matter of fact, my better half made it into a big thing for a birthday present, you know, and it's on the wall behind me, you know, and usually when guests come, you know, they will read it or whatever, you know. But what inspired me to write that, you know, I lost my mom in '94 to cancer, and even before that, but it increased after she was gone, you know. I would always hear things she said to me as a young man when I was coming up. Of course, things I rebelled against, everything like most teenagers, you know. I thought she was trying to control my life. And, you know, I always say, you know, that the voice of the street was louder than my mom's. And so the street won, and eventually the voice of the Black Panther Party was louder than the street. And I, you know, joined the Black Panther Party while, and that, you know, was my journey to being the man I am now, you know. And so my mom, you know, is you know, like I say, you know, she was the first Wonder Woman in my life, you know. Harriet Tubman was the second Wonder Woman, you know, and Sojourner Truth and so many other strong sisters, you know, throughout the history that have held us as a people together, you know. So I have nothing but great admiration and respect for, you know, my mom and Black women in general, you know. And so that poem was my way of both remembering and honoring my relationship with my mom. You know, I am happy to see before I lost her, I was able to sit across from her and thank her for, you know, all she had given me, and apologize for being so stubborn and not, you know, realizing, the time that she held me and kissed me on the forehead and told me, baby, everything gonna be all right, just don't give up, So, that's basically what that poem is. It's still my greatest inspiration. And I still hear echoes, of my mom. There are times when life gets real complicated, and hearing, reflecting back on some of the things she said just in passing or in conversation, all of a sudden those complications kind of clear up some, and I know what I have to do, and so that's what that poem represents to me. It's a tribute to not just my mom, but all moms. I just hope that as many Black men as possible can remember what the relationship with their mom was, and let that be an inspiration to them.
That's powerful. You mentioned something that was very inspiring to me, was the impact that the Black Panther Party had upon you. As the Black Panther Party is discussed in documentaries and films and other works by scholars and miscreants like myself, you had a firsthand vantage point of the organization, of the party, and in its formative states in some areas, because I think you brought really the first chapter to Angola, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the only chapter in a prison that was recognized by the Central Committee of the party.
Wow.
I didn't, everybody had, particularly in the South, had a peripheral knowledge of the Black Panther Party, but we had no real idea what it took to be a Black Panther, what it took to go out in the community and to challenge corruption and to challenge racism and exploitation, and disenfranchisement. And then, all these things the party taught me was happening to our people. And so the party represent to me, the first line of courage that I became aware of from Black people. One of the things I always remember when I went to Harlem, after I escaped, I had been sentenced to 50 years and I was fortunate enough to escape. I exercised my right as a slave. Every slave has the right to run, And so, I exercised that right. And, I was familiar with Harlem from when I was a petty criminal, And so, of course, you want to go somewhere where you're familiar with the territory, But when I got there, this was a different Harlem, This Harlem was the one I was accustomed to. The party was there, and I seen brothers and sisters moving around, and I was still in that knucklehead state of mind. So I saw these sisters, and I'm like, wow, I got to get with one of these sisters, And I'm going there talking that crazy street talk, and these sisters talking about revolution and control of the community and empowering our people and stuff, and so that beauty I thought was physical, later on in life I realized that beauty was coming from within. That was the beauty I was seeing. I just was too ignorant to understand what it was, and but that was my first up close contact with the party when I went back to Harlem, and eventually I was captured and fought expedition. And while I was in Queens, the house of detention, the tombs they call it, in New York. The Panther 21 shootout occurred, and they put 4 of the brothers from that chapter on what they call them floors. I was on the 8th floor, and they put 4 of the brothers on that. And for the first time, I seen men, Black men holding their head up proud on a unafraid, and committed. And, you know, they come on the tier and introducing themselves and talking about holding, you know, daily sessions, you know, and talking about, you know, and at the time, you know, I was listening to what they were saying, but I wasn't hearing what they were saying, you know. And another brother came down from upstate New York, uh, fighting, try to get his freedom. And he had a book with him called A Different Drummer. And you know, he had attended some of the meetings we were holding on the tier and stuff. And so he said, "Look, my brother, you know," he said, you know, I noticed, you know, you not seem to be hearing what these brothers saying, you know." And I said, "I want you to read this book, and, you know, and tell me what you think after, you know." And it was the first time I had ever read a book from front to back. And I started reading that book in the daytime around 4 or 5 somewhere, and I didn't finish until around 3 or 4 in the morning, you know.
Wow.
And that book impacted me so strong that, you know, the next day when I went out and I started hearing what these brothers were saying, you know, I started understanding, start seeing you know, the connection, and start realizing things about me as an individual, my people as a whole, and, you know, realizing that I was not who society was telling me I was, that I was someone different, that I had value, I had strength, I had, you know, I just had to have the courage to take that back from America, you know, and start practicing within myself and within my communities. And at that time, of course, my community was the prison, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, that's the kind of impact, you know, the party made on me as an individual, you know, and still does, you know, even though the party no longer exists, the federal government was successful in destroying it, you know, through infiltration and misinformation, and, you know, creating chaos amongst the ranks and stuff. We all know about that from with the Cartel program, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, you know, one of the things I'm happy about, you know, you have a lot of Panther alumni now, and we are beginning to tell our story now. You know, up until that, till maybe, you know, 10 years ago, the federal government, the FBI, with all this corruption, they were telling us and telling our people who the Panthers were.
Mm.
And I think one really surprising moment for me is I was watching on the Discovery Channel, and they had an episode on gangs,
Mm.
you know, and these people actually had the Black Panther Party listed as a gang.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, what? You know, and all they was talking about was, you know, Panthers defending themselves from the aggression of the police and the state and the federal government, you know. And I'm like, well, what about the free breakfast program? What about the thousands of kids that they, you know, fed every morning? What about the community clinics? You know, what about the testing? You know, and making people aware that they had various diseases and stuff, and that they, in some cases, these diseases were treatable. You know, what about that? You know, what about teaching Black pride, Black awareness? You know, what about giving a man enough courage to stand straight and square his shoulders up? You know, what about the power for you to look in the mirror every morning and not be ashamed of what's looking back at you? You know, yeah, we are. So that's our story, and that's what we are, you know, trying to convey to a society and the world right now. You know, that Black Panther Party is not who Jag or Hoofy say we were, you know.
Wow, that's beautiful, because you're talking about changing the narrative. You're talking about rewriting the narrative and making the narrative more authentic and more organic and more true to the people who really lived it. You've seen probably the films that have come out, Judas, you know, you know, things of that nature. When you think about the propaganda, when you think about the corruption, do you get angry? I mean, do you say, man, my comrades were killed, the Bobby Huttons of the world, Eldridge
Yeah.
Cleaver having to leave? Do you ever sit back and say to yourself, what the hell? Like, are you serious? This happened in my own country. We're being classified as a gang, as infidels, when all we were striving to do was to protect our community.
Protect our culture, our history. I up until my joining the party, I didn't even know we had a history. When I went to school, they taught us all kind of foolishness, but never about our part in society, the world society, and in America. Like I said, I didn't know nothing about us. Harry Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Denmark Visa, Gabriel Prouser. Some of the great ancestors we have. That. I believe is sitting on the council of elders right now. I don't practice any specific religious practice, but I am very spiritual, and my guidance is there. And I always look to the ancestors for answers. When what I'm trying to accomplish is beyond my vision or my ability. For strength, and they haven't failed me yet.
Facts. Yeah, I have to ask this question, because you were put in a situation in which most of us would have done something to say, hey, uncle, time out, let me make it. Look, it ain't me, man. I don't want to do 44 years and 10 months. I don't want that smoke. I don't want none of that. Let me out. What I gotta sign? Who do I gotta tell them? What do I gotta do to get out? How in the world did you make it? 44 years is a long time, brother.
Hey, tell me about it. I tried, I never stopped organizing, even though I was in solitary confinement. They had 14 other men on the tier with me. So I never, stop organizing and educating and creating programs that brought us together on the tier, established certain principles we were going to live our life by. And so I was always had something to focus on other than, being in the 9x6 cell, and that's the size, that's not the space that's available, because you got bunks on the wall and zinc and commode attached to the back. So you have a very narrow space to maneuver in, And so, I think that was the key. Having my level, we used the term at during that time, raising your level of consciousness, making you aware. And so when I was put in solitary confinement, framed and persecuted for death of a security officer, I was aware of where I was at. I was aware of the purpose of solitary confinement and stuff, so that helped me, prepare myself. Of course, none of us thought it would be decades, we thought maybe a few years or whatever. And, we would be back in population. We never, thought we would be persecuted and convicted unjustly for the death of a correctional officer whose wife had been lied to and eventually became a staunch defender of Angola tree and called for our freedom and everything, And so, that all that comes first from my mom. Like I said, my mom was the first hero I ever had, and still the most prominent hero, in my life right now. But that's and then we I was always active. I would always, a lot of guys seeing me and King. We were fortunate enough to be housed on the same tier for a long period of time. So we were saw as elders or leaders or whatever. And so, you know, in order to be able to teach other men, you have to set a certain example. You have to carry yourself a certain way, you know. So that was a part of motivation for me, you know. But like you say, you know, the sole purpose of prison officials was to break my spirit, to break King's spirit, and to break Brother Harmon's spirit. You know, they never succeeded, they never came close to it. But you know, in between those 44 years and 10 months, you know, there was you know, programs, teaching myself the law, both civil and criminal, helping other guys, learning guys how to read and write, learning them about Black history, geography, the importance of African people in the history of the world. And, you know, so it was always something I was focused on. But, you know, in between that, there were those moments, my bro. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, I developed claustrophobic, which I still suffer from now, even though I'm free, which was a shock to me, you know. And sometimes, you know, I wake up and I'm disorientated. I don't recognize where I'm at, you know, in my own house, you know. I don't know how long it lasts, but eventually everything falls back into place, you know. So, but those are private wars, you know, private battles. You know, I'm not going to let them deter me from what I've committed my life to, which is social struggle. You know, and so we've taken prior to the pandemic. You know, King and I did a lot of traveling. We in not only in America but you know, Europe. You know, we went some of the mostly all the big countries. We did a lot of work for Amnesty because they were so pivotal and support for us. So you know, though you know, I never dreamed that, you know, when I was in Angola, the only thing I would say was, when I get out of here, never if, when. I always believe I would be free one day. And that, you know, I'm going to make people realize what's going on in this country in their names, you know, because bureaucrats and elected officials, they always say in the name of the people. And the people have no idea what they're doing in their name, you know. And so my goal, my purpose for writing the book was that, you know, when I was in the cells, it was strange, but I wanted to write a book. But I didn't want to do it while I was still in prison, because in a strange way, that to me that would be me giving up that hope that I was going to go free. You know, if I write this book in prison, then I'm believing that I'm not going to go free, and I'm trying to write this book, you know, to leave some kind of legacy behind, you know. And so I wouldn't write the book. And then when I got out, we had got TVs through protests and hunger strikes and stuff. We had won the right to have TVs and magazines and newspapers and stuff. So that was my window to society. And you know, I really thought that some significant change had happened in this country and in the world. But once I got out and I started traveling and I started meeting people and I started being a part of a community thing, you know, I realized that nothing has changed in this country but technology. This country has technology, but technology is a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways, you know. But the good thing about technology is that it gave us the ability to tell our story, to not let the mass media in this country tell, you know, or spread the propaganda on who we were as a people and what our contributions were, you know. And So, I'm like, well, you got more work to do than you thought,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thankfully, you have the means to touch many lives, with the technology that's available.
Definitely. I put a quote that I read. You say a lot of pain and suffering, but I can honestly say I never ever thought of giving up. It
No.
never ever came close to breaking my spirit. That's what solitary confinement is designed to do, to break people. And as I think about, and I read your book, and the thing that stuck out to me was, even though the name is solitary, right? That's name of the book. It almost felt like you weren't solitary, like you were finding yourself. You were finding who you are, and you
Oh,
were finding
definitely,
your connection to
definitely,
your people.
yeah.
Because when you were in prison, you weren't in prison. It almost seemed like you were freer than you had been in
When
the
I'm not
prison.
physically free,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you speak to that? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Or
Oh,
doesn't it?
yeah, because, like I say, when I joined the party, certain readings were required, mandatory for members.
Right.
And so I started reading, political works, historical works and stuff. As a matter of fact, the first political book I read was Rhetoric of the Earth by Franz Fanon.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
heavy.
okay. And that I got a strong sense then of what social revolution was, the possibilities of this stuff. You just had to be, willing to make the sacrifices, and that's what the fictional book based upon actual facts, Different Drummer taught me. That if you're willing to fight and stand and not and sacrifice and take the suffering and sometimes the debt of what you believe in, then anything is possible. And hope is always there. I can honestly tell you, I never ever gave up hope that I would be free. None of us did. The three of us, me, Harmon, and Robert, and you know, after a decade and then another decade, and you're seeing all these changes, and you do. I'm human,
Yeah.
you start to, after being bent and twisted for so long, you start to question things, and like as I said earlier when we started out talking, my greatest pride is my African heritage.
Mm.
And my biggest frustration is being African American, because our people, I fully believe uh, white America can never escape the horror they inflicted upon us.
Mhm.
But we as a people, we inflict additional unnecessary pain upon ourselves through
Mm.
our actions, and so we have to. I always say African people they forgive too easy and they forget too quickly.
Mm.
Betrayals,
Mm.
and so those are the things that we talk about when Robin and I, when we go around, and since the pandemic is kind of getting under control, I've been getting offs to come and speak. Since thing, my last trip was to Philly. Mamiya has the Running Down the Wall event every year.
Mhm.
And so, I wanted to go there and be a part of that. And, because that brother really, really gave us a lot of support when we were struggling for freedom,
Wow.
And
So you're familiar with Mamiya.
oh yeah, man, we used to communicate stuff, but then prison people like, we're not letting two great minds get together. So, but I still stay in touch with him through intermediaries and stuff,
Right. Right.
And all the political brothers and sisters that's still in prison or in exile, I'll never forget them. I'll never forget their sacrifice. And if anything, that's one of one of the pains of being African American, to realize that, our people don't know about the men and women as a result of corruption of cartel are still in prison now, and they're not getting the kind of support they should get as a whole. You got little pockets or individuals who was involved in social struggle back in the 60s and 70s, that still support them and remember who they are and remember their contribution. But our people, man, they can tell you who George Washington is, but they can't tell you who Mamiya is, or they can't tell you who Russell Schultz. A couple of weeks ago, Eddie Conway and his beautiful wife and son and some of his supporters involved in his organization came now, visit with me and King, and we had a wonderful time. And that's one of the things we were talking about. How can we motivate African American people to stop forgiving so quickly and forgetting so easy? Betrayal, especially betrayal from within us. Everybody may not feel the same way I do, but these people who rally these, I call them bootlickers, who rally around Donald Trump, and what it's sickening. It's sickening. How can they justify supporting this man? And I don't know, man. That discouraged me.
Yeah, you bring up some great points, and I think one of the points that we have to elucidate and talk about is the fact that you have this conversation with a great like Eddie Conway, and he's phenomenal. He's much respect, but he's another brother that gave and sacrificed his time here on this planet,
whole life, man.
Right, and I think you hit something that I think is so important: the anemia and amnesia that our people suffer from. Anemia in terms of our unwillingness to confront the evils in which we face in this society, and our amnesia to forget about those who are strong enough and who are willing to sacrifice and who are on the front line. Those individuals rarely get mentioned. If you said Eddie Conway's name in a group of so-called conscious woke folk, many would not know who he was.
Yeah.
And if you said Albert WOODFOX, WOODFOX, that name sounds familiar. I don't know who that is. And these are individuals yourself that need to be on a first name basis, household name basis, because without you, without your struggle, without your sacrifice, there's no way we'd be sitting here in the position that we are in. And I know you mentioned the only thing that's changed is technology, but I will say this: without your sacrifice and without the sacrifices of Assata Shakur and Mumia and others, we would not be at this juncture in this position.
No, and that's what Robin and I try to remind the audience of. The sacrifices the brave men, women, and children in the Black Panther Party they made. And like I said, we are the federal government and the corrupt agencies of the federal government have told our story for so long, and now we are in a position now where, because of the technology, because of the it cuts both ways, we can now challenge that narrative. We can now force them to admit the thing that the party did for African people, and so that's one of the things Robert and I do on a regular basis.
Awesome. I wanted to ask this question because I think it's important to discuss. You were in a state that is dripping with injustice and discrimination, and that's in the free world.
Yeah.
How in the world did you survive almost 50 years being state property to one of the most racist apartheid states in the entire nation? if
Yeah.
not the world. How in the world did you survive being a strong, uncompromising black man who was a Panther and who was uncompromising and unwilling to bow down? How in the world did you survive and to make it to this aged and smooth position in your life? What in the world? I mean, who? How did
Well,
you?
as I said earlier, all praises go to my mom, because at a time in my life when I was making that transition from petty criminal to revolutionary activist, I started having these echoes, of her things she used to say, and I developed a level of conscience and intelligence to the point that I was able to look back, and it was so strange when I was reading certain books, and I kept saying, I didn't read this. I ain't never read this book, but it's I heard this somewhere before. Where and then one day, man, it's like my mom name was Ruby. And one day it just popped in my mind. This is Ruby. This is Ruby talking. This is Mama. She's not being as intellectual as a writer, but this is and my respect for her had no bounds. It just grew beyond boundaries. And so when like I said, one time things got really difficult, and believe me, my brother, that I would. I can remember times when I had hit a claustrophobic attack, and I would walk up and down my cell naked, bro, for hours, and there would be a puddle of water from the front of the cell to the back from me sweating and just walking back and forth up and down that cell, Wow. And mom always was whispering in my ear, just keep walking, just you can beat this, and remembering the times, the sacrifice she made, so all everything started with my mom. The man I am today, my qualities of humanity, all was examples set by her. And the thing about it is my mom was functionally illiterate. She could only read and write her name,
Wow.
But
Wow.
it wasn't because she was one of the smartest and brilliant women I had ever known, and so no matter what society did to her, no matter what they threw at her, they bent her and they twisted her like they did me. I never can ever say I looked at my mom and saw defeat, or saw fear. She was a courageous woman. She wasn't political, but the examples that she set, will live with me until the ancestors. I joined her on the elders council of elders.
That's real.
Yeah,
that's real.
But I was so happy, man. I'll never forget. She came visit, and we had won the right for contact visits after 20 years.
Wow.
And we were sitting down, and I was looking at her, and all these things were just flashing through my mind, and I guess I kind of like zoned out. And she kept saying, "Baby, you all right? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I just looked at her, and I didn't realize till later on that our tears was coming out of my eyes. But I just said, "I want to thank you, I want to thank you, And she said, "For what?" I said, "For making me the man I am, I said, you would never know how many times you've come to me in my most desperate moments.
Wow.
And you've inspired me, and I've heard your voice. The voice that I used to ignore and rebel against is the very voice that I stand on now, and so I am happy I got that opportunity to let her know, that, the man that I had become, the things I had to accomplish, all set on the foundation that she instilled in me. I just was too young and too stupid to hear or understand what she was doing, you know.
Wow. You know, and this book, Solitary, a biography of your life, I wanted to ask this question because you mentioned something that really percolated my mind. I think we watch, you know, these movies and these TV shows about prison, and they show us, you know, some of it. And they, you know, I think they aggrandize and hyperbolize a lot of it, you know. But you alluded to something I think is very important: that isolation, that solitary time of being by yourself and listening to your own thoughts, and the thoughts that you chose greatly impacted you and propelled you to your own freedom.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know, because we have a lot of brothers and sisters that are locked down that listen to the program. And what I always share with them is hold your head, stand tall, even if you happen to be behind those walls, because one day you will be free. And you have the opportunity to be free in your mind. And I think about as you paced in that 6x9 cell, which is extremely small for a man of,
Yeah.
you know, of grown size. Um, but somehow you were able to listen to the right voices. And that's something that I think we need to discuss and talk about, because there are a lot of brothers right now locked down listening to the sound of our voices. And I'm hoping that they would listen to you rather than listen to the rappers or the other individuals who might be working for COINTELPRO,
Yeah.
um, that are trying to destroy that African spirit, that Africanness that you hold on to, that you call with great pride and love.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get you to talk about what it takes to make it in there, because we see videos, we see movies, but I don't think we really understand what it takes to make it in there. And I know you do.
Well, so, you know, that's probably the question I've been asking most since I've been physically free. You know, I was free mentally, emotionally long before my physical freedom. Like I said, the foundation that my mama laid in me gave me the ability to not just see the world, but to understand the world. You know, not to see black or white, but to see the gray in between black or white. You know, I became an average reader. You know, I went from not reading at all to reading sometimes 10, 15 books a week. You know, and you know, I taught myself both criminal and civil law, because at one point we realized that physical resistance was not enough, and we just couldn't keep. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've been hit with bats and billy clubs. I've been gassed, and you know, I forced to drink water out of toilet, because you know I was in the dungeon and they turned the water off and they turned the air conditioner on, was trying to freeze me, you know, and you know, so you know, it was just something my mom instilled in me, that determination, that will to survive, you know, but not just to survive anyway, but to survive on my terms, you know. And once I developed a sense of who I was and who I wanted to be, you know, I made a commitment to myself that I would sacrifice even my life to uphold the standards and the principles of what I believed in. And I believed in humanity. You know, I think that I have 4 beautiful great grandkids right now. You know, I missed out on my daughter's life and my three grandkids, but I have a chance to be a part of their life, and I would not want to see them 30 years from now fighting the same battles that we fighting now. You know, the same conditions that exist. You know, so that, you know, that's kind of like a personal motivation. But you know, I just don't. I just can't find the words. It's just something inside of me that was put there. I know the source of it. I know it was my mom, you know, but it's there, you know. And the more harder things get, or the more difficult they get for me, the more determined I am to change whatever it is, you know. And you know that has carried me. Thing. I wish I had a better answer. But it's just something inside of me, bro, you know, that my mom put there. And it took me almost 40 something years to recognize it and to recognize the source of it, you know. And
wow. Wow, I'm glad you did, man, because I think it not only helped solidify your time and your overcoming of your time in solitary confinement, but also I think it fermented this wonderful and Pulitzer Prize nominated book. You know, that you have done a masterful job of not only writing, but inspiring others to share their story. You go and you speak around the world. Can you talk about what it was like to hear that your case no longer would have you in prison, that you would have to be released? What was that experience like when you were 69 years old and finding out that you'd be released after over 44 years of incarceration?
you know, my freedom came as a result of a plea deal. It's called a alpha plea. You don't plead guilty to the crime, but you're saying that the state have enough evidence to bring you to trial. And I struggled for that with my attorneys for about 6 months because I've always taught men and women to fight, to stand and fight for what you believe in. And the thing that actually made me decide to take the alpha plea, my brother Michael, who lives in Houston, but he's been my rock for the last 50 something years. You know, he never missed a month of visiting, at least once a month and stuff, you know. He came see me one day to visit, and I could see he had he was something wasn't right with him, you know. And I'm like, what's going on, man? And my daughter's name is Brenda, you know. And he said, man, I just seen Brenda, you know, and I had a conversation, and she broke down and started crying, you know. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on? She said, well, I don't have a daddy, you know. And he said, you got a daddy. I think you should be very proud of what your daddy has accomplished, you know. In spite of, you know, the country trying to destroy him, he has become a very strong, educated individual, you know, and he's making changes, you know. And she said, but yeah, I don't have a daddy. I don't know what it's like to be held, you know, by my daddy. I don't know what it is, you know, to be able to sit down and talk to him about, you know, problem or when I'm in pain and stuff, you know. And that conversation really, it hurt me. It hurt me in ways that I you know, had never been hurt before, you know, because this was something that, you know, I couldn't remedy but one way, and that is to give her a daddy, you know, for however long she got left, you know, before the ancestors called her home, you know. And so, as I said, my lawyers and I, the district attorney, a new attorney general had my case, and they didn't know what to do with it. You know, all the evidence said when DNA and all that became available, all of a sudden, all the evidence they couldn't find it anymore. You know, they still got a bloody fingerprint on the dormitory door where the officer was found stabbed to death. It didn't match me or any else they charged, but they wouldn't run it against other prisoners, and they had the fingerprints of every prisoner in there. I think they know who that bloody fingerprint belonged to, you know, but they don't want. They had their demons, you know. They knew we were organizing in the prison. We were bringing whites and blacks together, and we were, you know, prisoners that stopped accepting, you know, the brutality of security staff and food and clothing that was meant for us was disappearing, or they wasn't, you know, just all kind of one horror after another rape young kids. You know, we formed an anti-rape squad, and we protected young kids. You know, and one of the brothers who had joined the prison chapter actually lost his life. You know, his name was Irvin Bro, and they called him Life. You know, and he tried to protect a little boy, and they stabbed him to death. You know.
Wow.
So those you know, those are the things that, you know, that I can never ever stop being a social activist, because these men are Harmon. Harmon gave his life up, you know, for what he believed in. He died 3 days after he won his freedom, you know.
Wow.
And you know, how could I turn away from that, you know? King and I did a tour of Harlem. You know, the Panther alumni in New York asked us to come, and we wanted to see the, you know, the old Panther headquarters and stuff. And it was a little mini mart, not a building and stuff, you know. But they had a lot of people still congregate around that area because they know that was once the Black Panther Party headquarters. And so we went there, and you know, we talked to the owners of the little mini mart and explained to them, you know, why we were there and stuff. And there's some young brothers out there, you know, on benches and stuff, you know, and they call us OG, you know.
Right.
OG, man, why y'all still doing that? The struggle is dead and all that day, you know. And I told him, you know, I said, you know, it wasn't nothing planned and nothing, but he just come to me. I said, old men like me struggle so young men like you can survive, you know. And you know, and that's, you know, that's I guess that's the foundation for me right now. I'm struggling and sacrificing and have sacrificed and will continue to sacrifice until the ancestors, the elders, call me home to sit on council, because as I said, my greatest pride is my African heritage, you know, and my greatest frustration is being African American and seeing our people constantly betraying themselves and betraying one another and forgiving those who betray us, especially our own kind, you know. And I don't understand, you know. I mean, it's one of the, you know, somebody once told me, say, why is the journey that could take a lifetime? And if you're lucky enough to get an answer, it could drive you insane, you know. So, you know, I'm on that wide journey about our people, you know. Why, you know, I mean, you know, I just don't understand it, bro, you know. But it's not gonna discourage me, it's just gonna make me more determined, you know, because I know for every one betrayer, there's 1,000 who embrace their African heritage and being African, you know. And so that's some of the things that motivate me to keep going, you know. And then the young, you know, I have a chance. Robert and I have spoken with a lot of kids and stuff. We were supporting Black Lives Matter before white corporate America decided, well, you know, we better try to take control of this movement before it get out of hand, you know. And we used to, when, you know, wherever we went to speak, we would always ask the host to arrange for us to meet with some of the young leaders in Black Lives Matter movement, you know. And we did that, you know. And even though overseas, you know, we went to England and France and stuff, you know, and they had Black Lives Matter movements there. And we had a chance to sit down and talk with these young men and women and find out what motivate them, you know. And the pride there was, you know, the same thing that motivated me not to be broken and solitary was the same thing that was motivating them, you know, to put their lives on the line, put their futures on the line, to go in the street against, you know, murderous forces, you know, whether it's police or these white vigilantes and stuff, you know, because they believe, they love, and they believe in their own humanity, and especially the humanity of African American people, you know, and African people as a whole, you know.
Yeah, that's real. You bring up so many great points. I wanted to ask you this. I really appreciate you for your time when you say that. But I have to ask this question because you mentioned, you know, sitting at the Council of the Ancestors, and you know all of the work that you're doing now to fulfill a legacy, so to speak. what do you want your legacy, or what would you like your legacy to be when you are called home to glory, to sit with the ancestors and elders? What do you want them to say to you? And what do you want? Hopefully, I'm still here. I want you to live for another 1,000 years, but I want to be here. But those who are of us who are still in the land of the living, what do you want us to say about your work and your sacrifice and those things?
I've always wanted, I just want the African people to be inspired by not just me. King and I and Harmon used to talk about, we are lucky in the sense that, like Momia and Russell and Sania and so many others, brothers and sisters who fight the same battles we fought, who are suffering the same tragedy that we suffer for so long right now.
Yeah.
So the ancestors, and from my way of thinking, they have designated us to bring this suffering, this pain, and things before the court of the world, to expose. And I think we've done a great job, because it might not be the exact change we want, but there is a movement in this country right now to change the way CCR, or solitary confinement, is conducted in across this country and around the world, And so I think the ancestors, bless me with this endurance and the knowledge and the intelligence to survive it, so that we could bring it to the world. We could bring it to, especially to our own people, and like I say, there's not a day I don't think about Harmon. There's not a day I don't miss him. There's not a day I don't, like my mom, I can hear his voice. I can hear that magnificent laugh he had, And there's a poem in my book that he did, Men of Steel, and that was a tribute to us, what we had to go through just to survive day to day to day. We had to make our captors think that we were beyond human, that we were something. Yeah, we used to go out, man. I know, and I'm getting ready to start my second book, and some of this stuff will be a part of it, because there was a limitation on solitary, on how much you could put in it, but we had won the right through hunger strikes and protests and filing papers in the court to get yard privilege. So when we used to go out there in the wintertime, it would be frost on the grass and stuff, and we would take off our shoes and socks and run on this ice. It was very painful, but it got the effect we wanted. It made them say something is wrong with these ends,
Yeah.
No normal person do this kind of shit,
Right.
And so it was. I mean, there's so many stories, bro. So I'm getting ready to start a second book, and right now I'm thinking about calling it "Memories Forgotten."
Wow. You got the title.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff, that just didn't have the room or the space to talk about in solitary,
Wow.
And,
wow. As I think about this, it's really interesting, because this book may help us with our anemia, being the fact that it's going to give us a lot of wisdom, a lot of strength, a lot of courage to fight our struggles. But it's also going to help us with the amnesia by bringing to our remembrance the importance of the struggles that we've overcome. And
I sure hope so, bro. I sure hope so, because that was the book has surpassed all my expectations. When I wrote this book, me and my better half, name is Leslie. I just wanted to tell the horrors of solitary and expose what was going on in Angola and other prisons in Louisiana and around this country, you know. And I never thought about awards or anything, and you know, so all that has been you know, a blessing. You know, the National Book Award, Pulitzer finalists, so many other organizations, you know, the Lawyers Guild, and you know, just on and on. I mean, we've got, you know, and you know, some of the organizations, the books that they recommend are mandatory to be on the bookshelves in universities, you know. So, and I went to university. Mostly when we go there, we speak with law students. You know, they are surprised to find out that we're not anti-police, but we are anti-corrupt police, you know, and that we don't hate DAs. We hate DAs who manufacture cases rather than build cases based upon the evidence that's available and have the courage to say no when the evidence don't match with the police. See, the police, when they arrest you, and it's a practice, and I'm sure every black man and woman in this country know it's called cleaning the books, you know. So they'll have 15 unsolved armed robberies, and you get busted for an armed robbery. All them armed robbers is young. They just want their book to show that they solved all these crimes. Now, when they get to the DA's office, you know, the DA should have the courage to look at this and say, "Now, wait a minute, this don't make no sense."
Right.
You know, this it don't even match up. Instead of using that as a leverage to force you to forfeit your right to a trial, to pressure you to take a plea deal. Well, if you fight and go to trial and found guilty, we're gonna give you 11,000 years. But if you plead guilty, we'll give you 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. At least you'll be old, but you'll get out. You'll see freedom, you know, and that's what's going on in this country right now. And those are the things that, you know, we talking about when we go before, particularly law students, you know.
Right.
You know.
I want to ask this last question because I think it's important. You are someone who is, as your quote says, and I want to bring up the quote because out of all the quotes in the book, I thought that this one was resoundingly honest, and it opines something that I think is really a testament to who you are and your greatness. You say, these are the principles I'm going to live by. These are the things I'm willing to die for if necessary. I think so far, when I look in the mirror, I'm proud of what I look back at. A lot of people can't say that, especially people who have experienced some of the experiences that you have, because they have compromised, they have given up, they have quit. I met dudes my entire life that said, man, the anger that I had, I let it go within. I turned it in on myself. I started drinking, I started smoking, I started doing everything I could to not have to deal with that pain and that plight and that struggle. You didn't do that. You fought through it, and you fought it directly. So I wonder, do you ever have people come up to you and say, damn, I wish I would have done what you did? Or shake their head and say, why the hell did you do that? I mean,
yeah, all the time. You know, it's either how did you do it or why did you do it? And how do you feel now that you're free? You know, why you still doing this? You know, a lot of people want to know that. Why you still traveling around the world, and why you giving up so much of your personal life and sacrifice and whatever, you know. And again, it all goes back. It's just something in me, man. And I give all praise, to my mom, and I thank the ancestors, put their hand on me and blessed me and made me, discover these things that I have within me, things of loyalty, devotion, determination, honor, When like I say, proud of me. I was about in my early 40s when had accumulated enough knowledge to define who I wanted to be, what kind of human being I wanted to be, what kind of man I wanted to be, And again, like I say, my word is my bond, my soul, my keeper, And when I give my word, I'll give everything up. I'll lose everything, even my life, before I break my word, And that's just who I am,
Wow. So I would imagine that this next 70 some odd years of your life is going to be spent doing some of the same similar things that you spent the first 70 some
Yeah,
odd years.
there will always be a need for social struggle. The things that we hate the most and resist the most is change, because change takes us in unfamiliar territory, and we lose our part of our self-confidence, and so that's part of me trying to get people to understand that change is good. Only people can make it bad, but change is good. We need change. It helps us grow. Wisdom don't come from stagnation. It comes from change, experiences, and so that's what I plan on doing. And definitely right now we got a whole lot of social struggle issues in this country. When Donald Trump can get 70-something million people to vote for him, that says a lot. When white supremacy has put on a suit and tie and occupied the White House, that says a lot.
It does. It does.
So, I may get tired and weary at times, but I'm never gonna quit.
Never. And you know what, brother, dear elder, we're not gonna let you, man. We need you. Thank you. And
thank you so much.
Like I said, you inspired me. I'm gonna go ahead and get some Rogaine or whatever I need to do to get a throat like that, man. You know what I'm saying?
It's getting thin, though, bro. It hides more than it shows, But I'm proud of it, I'm proud of it, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a privilege, pleasure, and honor to have you on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man,
Giving me an opportunity to talk to the people,
Man, thank you so much. And you have to come back before you release the book so that we can get an idea of the greatness that is in store in this new testament, in this new volume.
It's gonna, right now, I've been mapping it out. I don't want a book where I'm quoting a lot of statistics or other writers or other great men. I just want to sit down and just write about things I remember. Sometime me and my woman be laying down and we'll be talking, and she's like, "Why you didn't say that when we were writing the book?" And I'm like, this is not important. The book Solitary was important. There was a purpose, a message behind that. So this is just gonna be a book of me writing. I ain't quoting nobody. I ain't putting no stats in it, statistics or nothing. I'm just gonna write about memories I forgot, and just share them with the world. Hope that they inspire people. The one thing I always tell people is stand. Stand, no matter how hard it gets. Stand.
Yeah, definitely. I have to ask this before I bring on Dr. Batiste and Ms. Johnson. What is the message that you wanted people to get from Solitary? I have to ask that. What was the message?
Well, the message for me, whether it's Solitary or any other issue, is, don't allow yourself to be broken. Don't let other people define who you are as an individual and who you are as an African American. We are great people. We come from great people. There's not a society in this world that we haven't contributed great things to, and remember that, remember who we are, remember who you are. So that, that has served me well,
Yes. Well, thank you, Mr. WOODFOX. And I really appreciate you, man. It's been amazing.
Thank you. And when I get ready to publish my book, I'll call you. I got you in my phone.
Yes, sir.
I'll let you know, you know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
I may even come to Houston and do it live, you know.
Hey, you know what? We need to talk because we can bring you to Houston and definitely and have your brother come out, introduce.
Yeah, he's quite a man, you know. He lives in Houston, and you know, Bunchy and them have had an opportunity to meet him and come over. When I was staying with him, come over to the house and stuff. And King used to live in Austin, but he's moved back to New Orleans now. So, you know, but Bunchy and them has been down here, and we've met at other events, you know. So I definitely, I was just telling Michael earlier today that, you know, Les and I are probably going to come and drive down to Houston, spend about a week there. You know, I get a chance to touch old bases and you know, just enjoy the comrades and pay my respect to some of the comrades who the ancestors call home, you know.
Definitely. Well, if you do that, you have to reach out to me. Give me a call.
Oh, yeah. We definitely. You know, I told you my word is my soul, my bone.
I already know. I already know. So that and we're gonna make it happen and have some events for you to speak at and other things, so that we can spread this message and you can continue to be an inspiration to all of us. And we thank you so much.
Okay.
Really appreciate
Thank you for having me. You know,
and you gotta come back.
As the saying go, my brother, all power to the people.
All power to the people. Take care. Salute, my brother. That was the one and only Albert WOODFOX, and amazing brother. We have these two phenomenal sisters coming on in, and I hope they can hear me. I hope that Miss Johnson can hear me. And then Dr. Batiste, how are you doing? I hope all is well.
Yes, we can hear you. How you doing? We doing well.
Great, great. Is there any way you could turn your camera on? If not, it's okay. But it'd be great to see you.
Okay. Here I am.
We got Miss Johnson. We got Miss Johnson. She turned the camera on, looking so beautiful.
You got me.
And definitely. So, oh wow, we got Dr. Batiste on. Wow, this is great. This is great. This is great.
Hey.
This is great. How are you ladies doing? I hope all is well. I hope all is good. I hope you're feeling fine. And both of you are looking absolutely beautiful. I think I'm going to take my face off the screen so we can get you beautiful faces.
Oh, come on.
And do your thing. So we really appreciate
you. No, stay with us, brother. Stay with us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will. I will. But I want to thank both of you for doing the great work that you're doing. And also highlighting the importance of this information that we'll share tonight with the people, because they need to know. It has kind of taken, I guess, away the major attention that it had a couple weeks ago. It's not on the front burner; it's kind of on the back burner, but it's still an important issue, and that's of course what's happening in Haiti with the Haitian refugees, immigrants, as some have called them. And I really just want you ladies to share what you know, and then also let us know what we need to know so that we can help, we can support, we can provide whatever resources that is necessary. Because many of us were alarmed, we were astounded by the optics. Many of us were angered and frustrated by what happened, what we saw happen at the border. I'll start with Ms. Johnson, because I know you are very familiar with Dr. Batiste, and you can introduce her. I'd like to know how you felt when you saw those images. You've been working tirelessly on numerous efforts. So, Ms. Johnson, I was just wondering, what was your take, and what insights do you want to share with us to help us better understand and rationalize all of this madness and confusion that's happening?
Okay, first I want to thank you for having us on this evening. The brother us, he said it, a lot of it for us. Realistically, is what we've got to do for ourselves. And so I just want to, give a shout out to Mr. WOODFOX for his commitment and his sacrifice. And so we got to continue to do that. But what transpired with the Haitian community initially, what it did was it reminded me of nothing has changed, not in our community. Even though change is constant, unfortunately, in our community, for some reason, changed to go back and go back to what it used to be. And so, yes, we're in the same fight that our great grandparents were fighting today. The Haitians are no different than those of us here in America. As Black people, we are suffering the consequences of a society that is confused and demonic. Bottom line to it, because that you cannot do the things that is being done. You cannot say the things that are being said and think that any of this is of God. You cannot. And so when you look at what we are experiencing, the Haitian community left one complex situation and they are now coming to another complex situation. But here again, we do have the opportunity to do more to help them than realistically, if we find a way to find within ourselves to help them, maybe we can get help in removing certain things away from us that we can as a people. You see, be concerned about, we cannot be concerned about what we must be concerned about what we need to do as a people. Remember, their ship landed in Haiti or whatever the country was when they brought us over. And then ours landed here. We are the same people. We all come from Africa. And we've got to understand that whatever is done to any Black person is done to all of us. And so we're all suffering the consequences. Maybe reality is we are suffering it. And so what we've got to do now, we have something that we can step up to. That is the same pain, the same disconnect, the same disenfranchisement. We can step up to the place, provide things to help them get to this place in life where to be. And so Black United Front of Texas, which is the organization that I've been president of for over 30 some odd years, with Dr. Baptiste and the American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, because of where she is originally from. She's a Haitian American. She understands why she still works in the country that she loves. And so recognizing we need to do this work with each other, recognizing that we've got to stimulate and motivate, as understand they got to donate. The clothes are we need that, but more need money. And so we need money to be able to help the people pay for the things that we got angry as to them coming here and being mishandled and them not having papers. Well, remember, with papers, they've got to be able to get them processed. But if they don't have money to do that, so we can't be angry about something that really help fix. If we're willing for into dollars and cents, that we can in fact help the people become satisfied with the things that have to be done for them, such as their papers, such as lawyers, such as travel. And in some cases, hopefully, if they stay here, we're talking about employing them or housing them. And so we have lots of needs, but at the same time, we need to understand, if we're able to do a lot of those things, get them started, because we do have a structure in place. And with Dr. Baptiste, we have simultaneously been doing two things, helping them before this, people showed up. We were dealing with the earthquake and the flood in Haiti. But then they came and for a moment, but simultaneously we were on both projects. And so Dr. Baptiste can kind of entertain some of the things that I think that you want to know, that you want to get more history as to where we are right now with the country, the actions that haven't been taken, and some that has, but for the most part, she can explain some of those things to you. And as we go, we need to really talk about what we can do to run, because happen. We know the need is, you said we're angry, we were frustrated, we saw the devastation, we saw the pain of yesterday, we saw racism. Well, what are we going to do? And so we know we need people to know anger turn into Dyson so we can help the people. So in the turn, we can help. So Dr. Baptiste, with that, Mr. Cedric, you can direct what you want her to talk
Yes,
about,
ma'am.
or you want us to lead off with the
I'm
question?
just gonna let Dr. Baptiste do what Dr. Baptiste do, because she's a phenomenality. So I know she's got it covered. Just come on in, Dr. Baptiste, and just share what you think is of
Yes.
value and what you want to let the audience know.
Okay. Thank you so much. It is an
Thank
awesome
you.
pleasure to be in this show tonight. And I thank you for having this platform where we all can come and make our voice heard. And I thank Mother for allowing us working together on a much needed, effort, because this crisis is not just a Haitian crisis, but it is, the people's crisis. And with what am I saying that it is the people's crisis is the fact that you have a bad situation that's been happening for a while. So the only difference is now you have visual. See, the cruelty that you see at Del Rio has always been happening, but it wasn't visualized. We were not able to see it. And now the world have a chance to actually see what really take place, what Haitian has to go through in order for them to have a little bit of respect and dignity. So them losing their respect and dignity is not the first time that happened. And if you remember, there was many of them that end up in detention center where they don't get any support. They get sick and some of them even die, with shackles in the hospital bed because they did not receive help when they were not feeling well, because they didn't treat them like they were human beings. So all of these things has been happening. It's just a matter that now God has exposed it where everybody can seize it. So now that we see all the situation that's happening, we also see the country of Haiti is not moving forward. Why? Because of one thing. We all know about the successful revolution that a small black nation, was able to do successfully. And they were not able to understand how can this nation so small was able to have the most successful revolution of all time. And because of that successful revolution, the Haitian people are still paying forward. And they're paying it forward in the greatest way because of the fact that they become the symbol of freedom and liberty that says, you in this part of the world, you in that part of the world, you have the opportunity for you to be free. I will help you to be free. I will fight for you to be free. I will shed my blood for you to be free. And I will pay for you to be free. And because Haiti at one point was the only place where any of us who is black can go and have 100% citizenship and then have land and have opportunity to work, that become a threat for us until today. And because of that, we always be in dependency. And when we're talking about dependency, it's a way of not putting us in a position for us to evolve as time change, for us to have the medical and the technology needed for us to move forward and be in a global marketplace, just like every other country, just like the seven greatest economy power, which we know Japan, Germany, and the United States and China and so forth. Those are the greatest power because they have the voice of the economy. And we also can be there because we have those, tool, but we are not able to use the resource and the tool that we have. And with that being said, when you have a president that comes in and the president wants to bring change for the people, it only makes matter worse. And when making the matter worse, they're not having the opportunity for them to really change the country so the people can stay in their country, learn there, and establish system and establish economies in different sectors such as agriculture, technology, medical, so that they can stay in their land and prosper. So what happened is that there is always the gang. We have these gangs that's all the sudden become a number one thing in Haiti. We didn't have that before. Guns become a big deal in Haiti. Kidnapping become a big deal in Haiti, where this island never used to have these type of issues before. Why? So that the change
Gang.
won't take place. And so with that being said, we come to a point where the last straw, the president that really wants to bring change, was assassinated. So what does that mean for the Haitian people? As a Haitian national, there is no safety for you, because if the commander in chief of your country is not protected from other assassin coming to the country to kill, to assassinate him, how can you be safe?
Mm. That's
What
a good
is the
point.
opportunity? So this is one of the things that shocked the nation, the nation so hard. They were crippled for 1 week. Nothing moved. Nobody goes out. Nobody understand what was going on, because how can the first man of the island assassinated in his house, and
Mm.
there was nobody to protect him, and his first lady almost died. She suffered and struggled, and by the grace of God she made it, but she has lasting pain and lasting therapeutic, you know session she has to continue to go to because of how severe her injury was. So with that being said, then dealing with all of this, and then now you have to deal with a 7.2 magnitude of earthquake. So then what do you really have? You have assassination of your president, you have 7.2 of magnitude, you have the mother of the country, which is the first lady, injured in the hospital in the US. Then you have kidnapping that was already there, that was a fight. Then you have all these different gang. Then you have no job. Then you have no opportunity for you to eat or take care of your family. So how do you survive? What can you do? Do you really have the position to stay there and say, I'm going to be okay, when you know that even the president could not be okay? So how can I be okay and I have no resources? So this is where the Haitian begin to look for refuge in any place that they can. And we have, and even other Haitians that's in Latin America also has no refuge, because they don't have a home, they don't have an opportunity, they're not safe in their own country. So if they are not safe in their own country, if they decided to return, then why return? There was no job in their own country, there was kidnapping in their own country, there was killing in their own country. So what else they have? So the only thing that they have is to come to the US, the land of opportunity, the land of milk and honey. That's what the United States stand for every other nation in the continent of the world. That's how we see America. So this is why you have the influx of migrant coming from Latin America to Mexico and hoping to come to the US. I hope that gives you a
No,
pretty
you broke it down, sister. I was just sitting here listening, like, wow, you gave us a real history lesson, as well
yes.
as you contextualize why we are seeing Haitian
Mhm.
lives being disrespected and mistreated all across the world. Um,
Yes.
there was something that I read courtesy of a nonprofit organization, and they were saying how
Yes.
many Haitians have traveled 10 countries. They traveled all across North, or excuse me, Southern and Central America to
Mhm.
come to the States to come to, as you mentioned, this bastion of freedom and equality, and to be turned around to be sent on airplanes back to a country in which is in total squalor and in utter chaos. It just doesn't make sense. And
Correct.
for the ambassador, special envoy, to resign courtesy of the treatment that he has witnessed and seen extracted and done upon the Haitian people, to me, it says it all. And it speaks volumes about how inept and how tone deaf America's being, and how we're not living up to our creed. And I pose this to both of you ladies. What needs to happen in the next weeks, in the next coming of months, to change and rectify this matter and bring some peace and some solace to not only Haitian people, but this world, as we are beset with so much chaos and confusion, and seeing this malarkey happen to these people? I'll go, Miss
Well,
Johnson
first of
first.
all, okay. First of all, I think we need to recognize that this is not going to happen in a few weeks. However, if we started to make a way for us to help the people, those that those have access to food, clothes. Remember, you just said they've come over 10 countries. They've come through a long way, and most of those people are still in the same clothes they left Haiti in. How many of us could stand that? How many of us would feel, how would we feel if we were still in the same clothes, not having been fed well over all this time they've been traveling? And so once getting here, we need to respond in a giving way. Yes, we've got to donate. We've got to have money to do this. We cannot do it just on good faith, trusting in God He is going to touch someone that's going to really help us. But we need people to step up and recognize the need that we are trying to meet. Finding that's a must. They must get legal representation. We've been blessed that at Texas Southern University's Law Center has stepped up to the plate to provide pro bono service, cover the Haitians that we are experiencing. And I think, Dr. You know that a lot of people for Houston is calling her as well. I mean, it's not just local for us. But Texas Southern has stepped up with the legal counsel for us. On the other side of that, we do have some realtors that's bringing us, and yes, we've identified maybe some vacancies, but we can't afford to get them because we really haven't raised the need to be able to house those temporarily while they're in position. So here, yes, we want to continue to donate the clothes, the toiletries. Those are necessary, but money is equally as necessary because the people must eat. The people must be clothed. They have to have toiletries. We have people that need wheelchairs and they need crutches and need walkers. We need all sorts of things donated. We need medical supplies. We need medical equipment. If people could just understand that, and we can all, and just so people know that, yes, we are nonprofits and we can give you a write-off. So we want to make sure that people understand there's a return on whatever they donate towards the Haitian relief effort. Again, it's ongoing. It's not going to be anytime soon. Got to get the people here settled as we try to still work with the people in Haiti at the same time.
Wow.
So we like,
Thank
and
you.
let me give you our website. Go to BUFTX.org/Haiti.
Then before I give my
Go ahead, Dr. Batiste. I think we can hear you now. I don't know if we lost Dr. Batiste, but go ahead, Doctor.
Can you hear? Okay.
Yes, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, can
Okay.
you hear
Well,
me?
until she out there, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So before I talk about the call to action, one thing I want every the audience to understand: this issue is not only a Haitian migrant issue. Yes, there is a great majority of Haitian that in the midst of it all, but what we need to understand, there is also, Cuban, Venezuelan, um, we have Cameroon, and we have people from Congo, we have people from Turkish, and we have people from Venezuela. And the percentage are not as big as it is for Haitian. However, is a people's affair. And one of the things I want the audience to understand, this is a migrant affair. Yes, Haiti now is on its bending knee, and it's a great majority of our people is in it. But we need to be able to let others that doesn't know there is other people that's in it from other part of Africa that cross all the way to Latin America to make it here. They also need to know that they need help as well, because we have a great number of Congo, a great number of Cameroon, and we have few Nigerian in the mix, and then we have a few Turkish in the mix. And these people, they don't have nobody in the US. They pretty much have a friend through social media or Facebook, whatever the case may be, so that way they come to the land of opportunity. So, with that being said, we want to make sure that everybody to be more conscious and to understand in
Mhm.
this matter. Yes, we will do for Haiti, but we cannot forget the other nations, because the other nation is also needing our help. Action is pretty much three things. Number one, we need help for the Haitian TPS. So we asking everybody who knows their state representative, that knows their Congress, that knows their um, senators, to send letters to call, ask for extension for TPS, so that the people will have the opportunity for them to apply for TPS. Now we understand that the TPS for the Haitian was extended um, until August the 3rd. So we are asking the Biden administration to move the extension to another 8 to 10 months, to allow the rest of the Haitians to have the TPS, and also to provide other status for the Haitian, the other migrants, such as the people that I just listed. Why is that important? Because if the migrants has the opportunity to be covered under TPS, they have the opportunity for them to work, to have a work permit, to have a social security, and then to have an ID to begin to establish their life after such a long journey. They want to have that opportunity where they can breathe, has to fight their asylum case until they win it. But if they don't have a status, then we have a problem, because we don't want them to be under immigration proceeding. Because if they are under immigration proceeding, they don't have the temporary protective status. It is very easy for immigration to now remove the United States of America. So that's one of call to action. Then the second call of action we are asking is for individuals to continue to support, with housing. Because right now we have calls from various part of the US calling that the friend allow me stay is no longer allowing me. So now a shelter. I need a place for me to stay. We are looking for housing, not just only in the state of Texas, but also in other states. So we calling out to real estate developers. We calling out to business owners that has different housing or building or hotel or motel to give an opportunity to those individuals in those various states. So if they would partner with us, they can reach us and tell us how they can help. If it's a building that they want to help, whether it is in Texas or the other state, we want to make sure these individuals have a place where they lay their head, because they have some of them have 5 days, some of them have 7 days for them to be able to decide where they are going to be. And these are the calls that that's one aspect. The second aspect is we need to have channels of attorneys on various states that will offer the service freely without charging any money, because right now they don't have money. And we need attorneys that actually going to do the charity work, not asking for the funds right now because the people are not able to pay for the legal fees at this. And our fourth request is we need 1 million people that can donate $1, 4 quarters to Haiti Relief Fund that Miss Cleo will give the information. If we can have that, we can help a lot of individuals, because some of the cases it's going to be where they're going to need bail. Sometimes immigration bails or 10,000, 15,000, 13,000. So with that being said, we need to have funding to help, because we don't know those that will need a bond. We don't know those that are going to need other help besides the bond, besides paying for the immigration, for the application. So the needs are more than we can even take care of in our own. But we know with a great community and with a great backup, we can really help this migrant influx. And then one day those migrants will have the opportunity for them to be whatever that they want to be: doctors, lawyers, engineers, where people have stand in every corner to help them to establish. This is our main call to action tonight, that we can have the people to back up these 4 things that we asked for. And of course, I will have Miss Cleo to go ahead and give the site where we need 1 million people to donate 4 quarters. Because not only the funding migrants, but we have option that we know and what they need for them to provide for the migrants, not just here, but also in other parts, in Mexico, in different states, and even here. So the needs are great because the calls are coming in each and every time. So this is our call to action. I'm going to pass the torch to Miss Cleo to go ahead on and give the rest of the information on how to contact us and where to go ahead on and send their support.
All right, Miss Johnson, I think it's your
Mr.
time.
Cedric, you want me to talk? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So,
ma'am. Go
all
ahead.
right. So again, the Black United Fund of Texas is really, working diligently to make this happen. So they can donate to org/Haiti. Go to Black United Fund's website and you can donate, and so that we can get things going. We have started some efforts. We're having, everything is going to be ongoing. So again, that's BUFTX. It stands for Black United Fund of Texas. this is one way people can step up to the plate and help our community that is in need. There are no resources. You know, I know that we've been challenged every now and then where people say, well, what about the people in Louisiana? And what about the people in New York? And what about all of those states in America have a resource that can step up to the plate and help them. But the Haitian people don't have a resource. And so we need to become their resource and should become their resource in order for us. And as he stated earlier, when she talked about the war that we had, that we won, you got to understand when you win little and you beat much, you beat something larger and bigger. They understand the potential that you have and the greatness from, and the fact that if you come here and expose people to all of that, then things could change in our community. So yes, they will have in a very horrible situation, and it's not a simple thing. And we do, in fact, need to work together to change things and make things happen. So again, through the Black United Front of Texas, we can do this. But to working with anyone who wants to get in touch with us, you can call 832-890, and so that we can find out how we can work together and making these things happen. And we need to do it ongoing. And I hope that you'll have us back as we progress. We can bring you up to date and let people know and what our needs are at that point.
Oh, that's guaranteed. That's we're gonna strive to get you on as many programs as we can to spread the word, because you both have elucidated some extremely important points, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to reiterate the importance of not only Haiti's contribution to African people all around the world, but Haiti's contribution to freedom fighters. If I'm not mistaken, Venezuela and Colombia, they use their flags are correlated and connected to the Haitian flag. And there are some other countries as well that have benefited greatly from the works and the efforts of Haiti. We'd
You
love
can hear
for you
it.
guys
That's
to
okay.
type in the chat that information so we can put it on the screen. So people who watch the replay, which more people watch the replay than the actual live because of Facebook. But definitely we want people to be able to see that, write that down, so that they can make those donations, those critical donations, which we believe are transformative. So if you would, one of you, preferably whoever is closest to their computer or their cell phone, can you type that? It's a part where it says private chat. Can you type that information in so you can put it on the screen? You can leave it on the screen so people can do their thing and make those donations, make those contributions, which is so critical, which is so important. And as Ms. Johnson's doing that, Dr. Batiste, I wanted to ask this question. When you saw this, yes, I see it, the Black United Fund of Texas. I'll put that on the screen. But when you saw that happen, when you saw what was occurring, what was your knee-jerk reaction?
Yes. Okay, so what wow, this is a very powerful question. What you see
Not let me
on
and then it cut it off.
okay, I think Miss Cleo having a problem.
Yeah,
You got
I'm
it.
gonna figure it out.
Okay, so what you see on national TV, I was previewed to it at 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
At 2:00 in the morning, the partners that we partner with that is on the ground always, because immigration is a passion of mine. It's very passionate for me because I have a personal history when it comes to immigration. So I will talk about that at another time. So immigration has never left me. Immigration has always been the anchor for me. Immigration follow-up was always something that's very dear to me. So with that being said, I have been partnering with certain organizations that is underground at every borders, from California to Mexico to Arizona to different borders where there is migrants that's coming from all over the world. So I received that call at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. It says that we are in trouble. And I said, what do you mean? And it's like there is a massive group that's coming into Del Rio, Texas, and we're going to have to be ready. And I'm like, I said, are you sure? Are you really sure? It's like, no, we are here. We there, and they coming, and we can't stop them. What we can do is to help them so that they can establish themselves. So I was in so much shock, I couldn't go to sleep anymore. I just sit there and I went and started praying. I said, God, open the airways, open the byways and the highways, and bring people that will help, the migrants, because it's so much, and it's not something that can be condensed or content to ourselves. And then first thing I see on Google in the morning, first thing I see on the news is exactly what I was told at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And the more that I see it, the more that it hurts. I feel like I was going through my own personal struggle, because I understand the struggle of being Black, of being a migrant, and also of being of a country where you don't know nobody. And I immediately feel the need that I must help the best way that I can. I must pull through the best way that I can to help them, because I understand their pain. And so immediately I call Mother. I say, we got work to do. And the work is big. I don't know how far we need to go, but it's not a short thing. It's a long term. And not only is it long term, on top of it, we still got to finish with the earthquake effort, because the people, they still need us. And she said, okay, we're going to work. And we've been working since.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate your honesty and your clarity. Miss Johnson, we got it on the screen. We got it. The Black United Fund of Texas, BUFTX.org/Haiti. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Great. Please let people know.
Just so I can get everybody to remember.
Go ahead.
Okay. What I need people to understand, we got to do, your show says consciousness mindset.
Yes, conscious mindset.
And the importance of the mindset is to remember we look at people. And so never put nothing first before you say Black, united, people together, fund our own opportunities in Texas throughout this country. Consciousness mindset, when we have a mindset to remember that we are Black people, then we can get this job done together.
Facts.
So, because I think your program got the right kind of title.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. And you're bringing the right kind of energy for the program. And we know and understand that we are the ones that we're waiting for. There's no more time to waste. You're a legend. And Dr. Batista, you are a hero, a shero. I wanted to get you guys to, I don't want to hold you too long, but I just want you guys to beg Johnny Gill, keep sweat, whatever you have to do to get folk to understand that they need to donate, they need to contribute, they need to help and support this powerful movement that's making the difference in the lives of thousands of people and really changing the trajectory of lives. So just, if you have some more words, just let people know they really need to support.
Yes, I do.
This is a great contribution, a great ability to contribute to something that will change the lives of many.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Cedric, I know that you are out there and you know everybody. So I need you to get 50 Cent, who is part Haitian, to come and help us.
Yes, ma'am.
So Adam Paul out there, we want 50. we need all the Haitian community to recognize that we need to change our community, and we need him just like he's into HISD and he's donating to these other things. Come on and help us help our people right here. And so I haven't to get to him yet. I'm on the journey. I'm on the path. But I figure since I got this platform, I may as well go and holler out to him and say, "Come on, my brother, my son, we got to do this together."
And we're going to.
So anyone else, though, here again, you are.
I was just going to say,
hey,
we're going to do that, and we're going to also reach out to some other folk that we know that will make a contribution and help and support because we believe in the cause, and we ourselves are going to make a contribution as well. So we definitely believe in what you all are doing, and if there's anybody we need to reach out to or publicize this with, we will.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate that. We really appreciate that.
I'm gonna send you some pictures so you can know what we've been doing.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And before we go, say how people can reach out to you. Let people know the importance of this and how they can contribute, how they can help, how they can support. Because we want people to support. We want people to contribute.
Okay.
We want people to do their part.
Yes, sir. Well, they can call us at 832-890-4130, and they may donate to us through Black United Fund of Texas, and the website is uftx.org/Haiti. And we want to encourage everyone to pay. Everything is tax deductible, and we need you. We cannot do it without you. We need more people involved in helping us reach other people, because everyone has a some kind of Facebook page or have a contact list. Use your contact list, your email list, and send it out. I'll be happy to anyone need me to send them the items, but they can give to us through the website buftx.org/Haiti. And so we're looking forward to more money coming in so we can do this. We cannot do it simply by the mere fact of we believe in God, and God gives us the right to do this. He anoints you to do it, but it takes the people to be involved with helping one another. And so we're seeking everyone's help, and we look forward to changing things.
Awesome. That's great. Dr. Batista, I definitely want to give you the last word so that you can beg Johnny Gill, keep sweat. Please, people, donate and help out and support.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate all that you do tonight. You know, one of the things I want the audience and the platform to know is this is a people crisis. And because it is a people crisis, we all need to come together as one to help our sisters and brothers out, because the Bible says we are our brother's keeper. And understand that being our brother's keeper, the only reason that you may not be in that situation is just a fraction of a second, because at any point in time it could have been you on that side. So when you thinking about donating and giving, don't see donating and giving to Black United Fund, but see it as an investment that you're investing in your future. Because if you invest in your future, you may not be here to see what you have invested in, but your great, 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 great grandchildren will receive that blessing. Because as you help one, God will bless you, but not myself or Miss Cleo or the movement will be able to bless you. So we asking you to go into your heart, into your heart and give. Because in just 3 days, with our network, we had to purchase 53 tickets to help family to get around to their loved one. So understand the need is great and it's always there. And their call for help is 24/7, non-stop. So we asking you, we begging you to give and invest in the future of your generation. I may not live to see the change that the migrant will bring into this country. Mother may not see it, but guess what? You plant that seed, your generation and your family will get to see the greatness of this migrant. So I'm asking everybody, have a heart, and a heart that is a heart of flesh, and touch from your spirit and give with the love of God. And I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. And though I may never repay you, but God will always bless you for the seed that you're planting in this movement. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful.
So,
I'm
Mr.
gonna pass
Cedric,
the collection plate. Yes,
so
ma'am.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Keith Sweat. I'm gonna go ahead and say
Yeah.
Keith Sweat, and what's his other guy's name? You gotta
Johnny
come on.
Gill.
You gotta come on
Yeah.
and join us. Johnny Gill, Jay-Z, Beyonce, all of you all to come on and give and get in line with what we're doing in order for us to make some changes, in order for us to help our people help themselves.
Facts. Facts. I love and appreciate both of you. Thank you so much. This is going to not only change lives, this is going to be something that we remember. I know if Miss Johnson is a part of it, it can only be successful and it can only be legendary because from
Thank
Mickey
you.
Leland to Jarvis Johnson to so many individuals who I've had an opportunity to meet, they all say the same thing. If you got Miss Johnson on your team, you're guaranteed to do some powerful and amazing things because she is a winner's winner and an amazing human being. And I know you, Dr. Batista, you are a phenomenal phenomenality as well. So I really appreciate both of you and thank both of you for filling in the gaps and stepping up to the plate and being sheroes because we really need you and we really thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And before you go, Ms. Jones, tell us, Ms. Johnson, excuse me, tell us about, first of all, your great son who is back in the city, celebrated his 50. I'm happy that you invited me. I didn't know I was invited. I would have went. I got a piece of cake. But definitely, I'd like to know what it feels like to have a 50-year-old son and you still look young and vibrant as ever. And also, you know, what do we need to be preparing for in Texas? What do we need to be thinking about in Texas and voting rights and things of that nature?
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Well, what we need, well, first of all, what it feels like, thank God he's 50 years old, you know, and I'm still here. And I'm able to live through him and get a lot of the work done that I'd like to see done that hasn't been done. And so it is a privilege to have a son who's doing the work that he's doing, taking the stands that he take. We were truly honored when his other colleagues was at his birthday party and said that George stands toe-to-toe with the GOP. They don't get away with anything. When he stands up to speak, they tremble.
That's right.
And unfortunately, I haven't seen it yet, saying that he does justice for our people and for the needs of our people and for people in general in being able to benefit. I cannot express enough to tell you how important it is for us to vote. Because our numbers have not necessarily increased in Texas, we need to make sure that every person recognizes if you don't if you don't vote, and if we're not counted in the census, we're invisible. And so the reason why so much can be done to us and eliminate the elected officials trying to do away with their districts is simply because we're no longer a threat to the broader society. At one time, we were a voice in society. The Black vote meant something. The Black vote, Black folk was, and people came to us because we decided was going to be in certain positions. Unfortunately, the thing is that particular thing has changed. We're not being counted in anymore because we feel, well, it doesn't make any difference. They're going to do what they want to do. That's not true. They are doing now what they want to do because we're not voting. And so we need everyone to vote, and we need everyone to be counted in the census so that we can raise our numbers, so we can be a voice, so they don't have to say, oh my gosh, these people are voting. That's the reason, the fear. That's the reason why the president wanted all the audits, because people voted in numbers that hadn't been done in years, and they saw the power that came with that vote. It made changes. And so I'm asking people to recognize, yes, the lines have been, they are not always in favor. If we're going to protect our democracy, we have got to, and we got to be counted in the census. And so I can't emphasize enough, people who are not registered, get registered, because they're not getting any better as long as we're silent. Silence does not mean that you are alive. When you are silent, it causes pain, it causes rejection. And those that have gone to prison and are out now, please check and see your credentials to make sure that you know that you can vote. You now have the right to vote. Once you have done your time, please, we need you to make sure that you can register and vote. And we need to encourage, because that system needs to be changed, but it can only be changed by people who know what needs to be changed, not people who sit at a desk. So we need to act, we got to motivate everyone. We've got to motivate everyone in your future. If you're 85, you want to still continue to vote because it's necessary to protect our future as well. And they can get in touch with me if they become advertised as be able to register people to vote. Call me at 832-10-4130, and we can get this job done. But my son is going to continue to go down and battles and stand the grounds, and trust me, they stand. He led the walkout. I mean, his colleagues were saying that he said, let's move, let's go, let's break quorum. And so I was pleased to hear that. And and then he stayed the course. And you got to understand that they don't pay any money in Austin. He doesn't make no big salary. So, he was away from his own job. He has to make a living. But people fail to realize this is no game. This is nothing to play with. This is our lives. This is our democracy that we are talking about protecting. And we cannot let any more legislators write the kind of legislation that they've written time, and we Johnny come lately. We got to pay attention before they get to the voting stage. We got to let them know we are unwell and we are not going to be abused. So that's my voting. Rah, rah, rah.
Right. No, you did a great job, because right here in this city, we just had a couple days ago Sheila Jackson Lee do Enough is Enough, a symposium, a town hall, speaking against the redistricting of her district as well as Al Green's district. Many people are crying racism and discrimination. But what has to happen is we have to become aware, and we have to care, and we have to show that sense of efficacy, not just at the town halls and the rallies and the protests, but at the ballot box and at the census, as you mentioned.
That's right.
So definitely there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We're happy that you're on the front lines, and you and Dr. Batiste are doing such amazing jobs enlightening us, educating us, and keeping so many of us safe. So we thank you. We really appreciate it. And let's do this again. Let's have you guys back on in a couple weeks and to give us the update that we need, and also the marching orders that we need to know, so that we can continue to keep evolving and growing Thank you so very much, dear sisters, for being phenomenalities of
Thank you.
power, and we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you guys got to come back on, okay?
We will.
Okay,
We will.
awesome,
Thank you.
awesome,
All right,
great,
Johnny
great.
Gill,
Yes,
Jay-Z.
Johnny Gill, T Sweat. That's right, that's right. Thank you, Miss Johnson.
Okay.
Appreciate it. And that was the one and only Miss Johnson and Dr. Batiste. Please make sure you donate to the Black United Fund of Texas. They're doing a great job to protect and help and support so many wonderful Haitians. My dear brother, Professor Solomon Kamajan. Hey, brother, you know, I want to salute you. You got to come on the program. We got to have you back on because you're a phenomenality of magnificence. And you give it to us straight, no chaser, just like we like it, telling it like it is. And we definitely want to have you back on the program ASAP. There's some important information that we wanted to share. There's some important information that we wanted to share this past year, 2020, had 228, I repeat, 228 intimate partner violence homicides in the state of Texas alone. In the state of Texas alone, almost 230 people were killed, murdered, or committed a homicide upon, subjected to homicide, courtesy of an intimate partner, a lover. That's the highest number that this nonprofit organization had recorded in the history of its reports. It's been doing reports for over 10 years. 20% increase from 2019, which had about 185 deaths. And just to let you know, and I think this is very important, 126 of those deaths were people of color, primarily African Americans. Primarily African Americans, or people who are classified as Black, were out of that 126 were the majority. This is a pejorative. This is derogatory. This is ridiculous. We should not be having something like this happen. And unfortunately, it's happening, and it's happening in our state. And we, as a collective, all those who are listening to my voice, need to take onus and ownership to ensure that not only the numbers go down, but we can begin to change and create a more positive interaction between males and females. What we did find was 186 of those were women, were females that were murdered by men, and the remainder were males that were murdered by women, as well as female to female. There were a few cases of that, and male to male. So what we have is a serious situation. We know we need to wake up and begin to address this. This is not only Domestic Violence Month, but it's also Mental Health Awareness Day. And we need to make sure that we have as much support for those in our community that are suffering through some mental issues, that not only do they have the resources and the tools necessary, but also they're given vital information that can change and rectify and create great opportunities. One of the things that we wanted to share with you, and we kind of talked about it, but not in detail, a couple weeks ago, 600,000 people were killed. 600,000 people were killed, not in Afghanistan, but courtesy of opioids. And it's a reason why I bring up Afghanistan, because it was considered to be one of the prominent places in which opioids were found, created, and manufactured and sent across the country. So we know and understand the importance of getting not only the medical attention, but the focal point being upon the fact that opioids is ravaging our country, and it's killing so many. It seems like almost every other week we're hearing about another celebrity or someone in music that dies courtesy of fentanyl or some other opioid. So what we must begin to do is realize and understand that we need a change and transformation in our society. Unfortunately, many young people, 60% of young people, said they felt worried or extremely worried about the current country and the climate crisis that we are in. More than 45% of millennials have questioned about their feelings about the climate affecting their daily lives. And 56% of millennials say that humanity is doomed. We need to begin to not only raise up a new consciousness, which says that we are not going to succumb ourselves or allow ourselves to succumb to fear and fear baiting, but we are going to get out there and we're going to do what it takes to ensure that these fears do not come reality, do not become the actual truth at which we're facing. So only we can do that. We can do that by correctly understanding the plight that our universe and our climate is in, but also to begin to change and rectify the way we think and the way we think about things. You're seeing prices rise. Over the course of this past year, the price of gas has risen $1 from what its price was last year. As a matter of fact, if you would have purchased gas over this course of this weekend, you would have spent $435 million more this week than you would have spent last year if you are part of all of the drivers that have been driving. As a matter of fact, it's going to cost you per gallon, per fill up, it's going to cost you $1. And in totality, each driver is spending about $20 to $25 more to fill up their tank this year than last year. Those costs are going to rise across the board, not just in gas, but in every aspect of life. Unfortunately, we know and understand, according to research that we found, and we haven't heard too much discussion about this, unfortunately, and it's really terrible, is there going to be a high demand for pretty much almost everything you can imagine in the coming of months. As a matter of fact, high demand plus limited supplies equal prices spiraling to the moon. Before the pandemic, reserving a container, the containers that are held on ships, Houston being the second largest port in the country behind New York, many of the port cities are seeing not only an influx of ships, but they're seeing a shortage of ship workers, dock workers, and truckers who are able to remove those items and then distribute them across the country. That transportation has become an issue and a problem for this country. As a matter of fact, before the pandemic, reserving a container held on a ship that holds roughly 35,000 books cost $2,500. Now that same ship, now that same entity costs $25,000. And there's a shortage of not 6K drivers, but 60,000 drivers. 60,000 drivers. So we have some tough days ahead of us. And we definitely know and understand how important it is and how critical it is for us to make sure we're using our resources effectively and accurately. And also, those of you who do hoard, hopefully you don't hoard ridiculously and to an excess or extreme, but be aware of the importance of making sure that you get more than what you normally have gotten, because there might be a shortage, especially as we get closer and closer to the end of the year and those hollow days that many people celebrate. Courtesy of what happened on Monday, we wanted to give you some information about the gravity of the situation. 2.7 billion people on average use at least one Facebook product each day in June. And we'd imagine that somewhere in that area is about the same. WhatsApp is used by more than 100 billion messages a day and downloaded nearly 6 billion times since 2014. Some have resorted or purported that on Instagram, some 70 to 80,000 pictures are loaded each minute. And these entities went down for at least 5 hours. And there have been numerous reports saying $5, $6, $7 billion been lost by Mark Zuckerberg. But what people don't connect with and don't realize is that the focal point of the whistleblower was greatly changed in the trajectory of the conversation and attention. And the focal point that required was drastically changed. So many people did not hear about how Instagram own research and own statistical data has shown and showcased that it was causing bodily shame and body shaming amongst its teenage users. And Instagram was supposed to be releasing and distributing an Instagram for kids. But courtesy of some of the reports and the whistleblower coming out, they have held that back. And hopefully they hold it back forever because we don't need the reports to say what we already know. The fact that social media, and particularly Instagram and Facebook, are affecting the lives and the minds and the processes of so many people. Now we look at youth, but what I would say is that falls down on the floor is that many of us are falling victim to Facebook as well. And it's kind of, maybe not the wisest thing to do to talk about Facebook, and I'm using Facebook, but I have to always tell the truth. Facebook, like most entities today, is based on information, data, and particularly your data, using it against you or using it effectively so that they can sell it to advertisers who are constantly and consistently selling you things to consume. So the question is, while we are in a capitalistic society and we know that everything is based on making money, the question is, are you the product? And being the product, how much do they know about you? There are reports, and we have individuals that we're going to bring on the program that they know about as much about you as you know about yourself, if not more. And it's really alarming and quite perplexing why we don't have enough conversations about how much they know. Because, I mean, you sit back and think about it. The reason why televisions are cheaper than what they used to be is because they're smart TVs. And the reality of it is that the smart television is making you dumb because you're selling your information to them and not getting paid. As a matter of fact, you're paying for it. So when you pay for the streaming device or you pay for the television, all of those analytics that they have built into the system are watching what you watch, when you watch it, how long you watch it, and then they're analyzing all of this information to sell to advertisers, to sell to third parties, to sell to entities that are going to sell specifically to you, knowing exactly what moves you. Now, many of us might not see the problem with that, but the problem that I see is the fact that not only are they getting this information and compiling this data, but they're selling the data in a way in which to the advertisers, in a way in which makes us not only the product, but makes us guinea pigs. And I think it's important for us to quantify and say this is that what they're doing, most companies are doing today, right? They're taking our data, they're using these cookies, and they're finding ways in which to begin to program, to begin to analyze, and to begin to create algorithms that fit within a certain profile, a profile that they've studied, they've analyzed, and they figured out is very effective. So I think that before we get lost in the sauce, we have to remember the importance of controlling our own minds and being aware of the fact that these entities have made us the product, made us the guinea pigs, and they will make every opportunity possible for them to deliver deliverables to their advertisers, to their clients, to those who are buying the information and data that Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook products are selling. Before we go, we did want to share this with you because we think it's important, and so many have not heard and not been exposed to this. But it's important to say this is that it's estimated official government data did not report 17,100 deaths of police violence out of 30,000 total deaths during the nearly 40-year period. Non-Hispanic Black Americans were estimated to be the most likely to be killed. As a matter of fact, they were 3.5 times more likely to die from police violence than non-Hispanic white Americans, with nearly 60% of these deaths misclassified, meaning they are not attributed to police violence, but they were police violence. Why is that not being discussed? Why is that not being talked about? The fact that police violence and police deaths have been misreported, misclassified for almost 40 years. And these things are happening and occurring, and it's terrible, and it's a travesty. And 55% of the deaths of police violence from 1980 to 2018 were misclassified and unreported in official vital statistics. And this is provided by Lancet. And they've said, courtesy of 90 collaborators and peer-reviewed studies, they found this. And no one's talking about it, no one's discussing it. And this should be something that we not only analyze and discuss, but have long conversations about how individuals are being totally misled and totally bamboozled and hoodwinked into thinking things that are not true and that are not accurate. And we have to get that accurate information. We'll be giving you more information about that soon. Before we go, we wanted to say that 10% of all deaths among Americans 40 to 70 are a result of too little exercise. Studies show that the right types and amounts of physical activity reduce the risk of premature death by 70% just by exercising, just by getting into the right physical activity and doing the right things physically for your body. That right there is critically important to say. You need to begin to exercise, and you need to begin to look at mental exercising, such as meditation, affirmation, grounding work, doing yoga. Those things are critically important. And tonight, this is very important. Please listen to me. Please, as you watch this, please do your affirmations before you go to sleep and upon waking up, when the subconscious mind is most receptive to suggestion, and visualize it with positive feelings, with positive thoughts. And to add focus and power, do targeted affirmations as you visualize. And when you visualize yourself making money, winning the game, doing everything you can to be everything you can be to the best of your ability. And to attract money using mind power, organize your thoughts in a targeted way. This will organize your environment and affairs, and this will cause your thoughts to become more organized and to run more and much better, more effective to achieve. And the last thing before we go, please tap in, grab a book. We'd love to have you read it, get your thoughts on it, as well as to tap into the greatness that you are. We know that 86,400 seconds, 1,440 minutes that we're so blessed with, and we call each moment the present that is now and here. And here and now, we know that it is present because it is a gift to be alive. And what better gift can we give than to give others inspiration, motivation, and more life? So we hope and pray that you will realize today that you are the one that you're waiting for, waiting on. There's no more time to wait or waste. So let's get to it. And we love to do it. And we're going to continue to keep doing it. We got a great program for you next week. Hopefully, if you missed any part of this show tonight, you can get it right and listen to the replay. And if you would, go to youarepowerfultoday.com, because you are, and tap in and grab a book, or you can hit that Cash App, $SEDKEE, and show some love, because we definitely need it. And we love to continue to keep giving you this program with news you can use, flavor you can savor. So you definitely need to tell a neighbor about the most prolific, profound conversation happening on your FM and internet waves. And that's the conscious mindset. We appreciate you. And we're signing out. Peace and blessings.